Nothing foreshadowed trouble, but an ordinary dinner, which took place every day, brought with it new problems. The man once again told the story of the strongest people in these lands. Spartan warriors are born with extraordinary strength, and from the first days of life they differ from ordinary children. At the age of 18, each such child faces a test. The dragon must fall at their bare hands. Over such delicious food they discussed not the most pleasant things, like how the Spartans were turned into soldiers. Such strong people have lost their dignity, their former glory has been lost, and it seems forever. He was ashamed to talk about such things, since he himself was one of those people. Now his adult daughter sits opposite his father, so he expects decisive action from her. Sarah must take over the family and show everyone how much power these people have. The girl had a completely different future in mind. She wanted to be an ordinary girl, get married and live without worries. This revelation shocked William. He expected his daughter to continue his path. All her life, Sarah dreamed of a different life. She was supposed to be born into an aristocratic family. She wanted to be an ordinary girl with her quirks. The Spartan strength was not for her. All these rules are like a lump in her throat. Since childhood she was prepared for feats for which she was not morally prepared. All this can be left to her brother, and Sarah can be free. The maids felt the atmosphere become tense, and they needed to leave immediately so that no one else would get hurt. William heard his daughter's honest opinion for the first time. He didn't like it. He doesn't accept refusals. Sarah had a hard time containing herself, but she finally spoke out. Maybe this way she would be able to make her own decisions in her life. Instead of all the fights, she most wanted to be in the place of the debutantes. She dreamed of appearing before society in the best light. She shared her plans to show everyone that Spartans were not only warriors, but also sophisticated young ladies. With every word spoken, William lost his temper. His anger knew no bounds. He will show everyone that he will not tolerate such treatment. Everyone will be punished for their actions. This is exactly what the maids were afraid of. Their greatest fears came true. Only over his dead body will it be possible to achieve his desires. He will not allow such shame for the family. Sarah didn't even flinch at her father's words to some extent. She expected that nothing would come easy for her. All her life she had been prepared for various situations, so her father's attack did not frighten her. She herself knows many techniques that will help her in the fight against a more experienced person, even against her father. The girl saw the man's attacks in advance and deftly managed to avoid injuries. But the maids were much less lucky. Their defense turned out to be too weak. No matter how hard they tried, the blows landed on them. This was the first time their mistress had shown such power before them. Even here she showed all the grace that was characteristic of her. The maid saw her as a role model for all noble ladies. Looking at such a lady, you will inevitably want to become stronger. William was too good to fight with his daughter. He had too much experience. He himself can show her something that no one else could even think of. Sarah was not prepared for such an injury in the fight with her father. The advantage was not on her side. The maids didn't want to see their mistress in such a state. The blood was flowing too profusely, and it seemed that Sarah might die from such a wound. All the maids were scared. They were afraid of being in the girl's place. In fact, they themselves made mistakes because of which their mistress suffered, and for this they too may lose their jobs. For a father, there is nothing more important than his daughter's initiation, so he will do everything to ensure that Sarah acts as he wants. The girl could do nothing against this. She lost. William doesn't like the idea of his daughter being some kind of doll. She should have a different purpose. She didn't want to listen to humiliation directed at the ladies she herself dreamed of becoming. Her father always prepared the girl for war, and there this status of a lady would be of no use. The girl understood everything perfectly, but in her soul she had hope that she could change her future, since nothing bad was waiting for them anymore. The Spartans earned the title in the past, so now they can breathe a sigh of relief. They no longer have to prove anything to anyone. All these arguments were not convincing to the father. He stood his ground to the end. Sarah was unable to answer him. The maids were extremely concerned about her health. The gentleman has finished all the showdowns. It's time for his daughter to rest in her chambers. The maids helped the girl properly. Without them, she would have bled to death long ago. For her, it was a time to think about herself, about the strength that is in her family. Since childhood, she was a black sheep. It seemed that strength was a gift, but it brought only problems. Nobody wanted to communicate with her. People avoided those who were very different from them. The girl's mother was great in her field. No one dared challenge her. She was impossible to defeat. Perhaps it was because of her strength that she was alone. Few people would want to communicate with warriors. At the right time, she left her family. She must have had her own thoughts on this matter, but they remained undisclosed. Sarah was too little to stop her mother. She prayed to all the gods for her health. Tears flowed naturally. It was a traumatic moment for the child's psyche. She tried to stop her mother until the very end, but it was all useless. The little girl couldn't do anything in this situation. Sarah kept replaying this moment in her head. She still couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal from her loved one. After some time, the father gained the strength to calmly talk to his daughter. He needed to convince her by any means necessary. He didn't see her as a noble woman. Such a fate was definitely not for her. One cannot refuse their name. By his logic, she should understand his thoughts, but it seems no one will understand her. She just wants to feel like a fragile girl. She doesn't need all this strength. William never achieved what he wanted, and his daughter never deviates from her ideas. The next morning, she had a hard time opening her eyes after everything that had happened. She would have been happy to spend the whole time in bed. This is not destined to happen. Today she has an important event. It was hard to believe that she had to get ready for a debutante ball. It seemed like a cruel joke. She woke up immediately after these words. Her dream came true. Only the best was prepared for her. Finally, she would feel like a lady and not a killing machine. Her father did all this for her. It seems that the previous conversation was not in vain, and she managed to defend her opinion. It was clear what choice the girl would make, and everything was prepared for this. They know her inside out. It all seemed like a dream. She had never felt so feminine. It was impossible to even think about her strength. The girl was beaming with happiness as she was being escorted to the best event of her life. Sitting in a gilded carriage in a dream dress, the girl set off for the imperial capital. Sarah counted down the minutes until she arrived at the annual debutante ball. It was an honor for her. She is looking forward to new acquaintances, pleasant meetings, and finally she will appear in a place that she likes. There she will find friends. The girl will no longer be alone. Already in the carriage, she thinks about the Duke. According to the description, he was ideal, and such people only exist in dreams. They could have made a beautiful couple. No one would have been able to take their eyes off them. The guy would definitely be amazed by the girl's beauty. Such a lady cannot be missed. In her dreams, they swore eternal love. Her status would immediately change. For her, it was the ideal fate. I just need to come back down to earth. All this was unreal. Now she needs to be a real lady. She knows how to present herself in the best light. In the carriage, she can still be herself, but outside of it, she should show the maximum grace of which she is capable. Sarah managed to fall asleep on the way, and it's good that her appearance didn't deteriorate during this time. She instantly forgot everything she had told herself. Grace has no scent when you strive to see everything around you. The imperial capital enchanted her. She would like to stay here forever. Everything was fine until she was allowed to leave the carriage. Now she is responsible for her own safety. Sarah found herself in a place she didn't want to be in. She was brazenly led around by the nose. William was too experienced to outsmart his daughter. He always gets his way. Everything was done for the battle with the dragon. The girl was not destined to appear at the ball. Sarah wasn't to blame for this, but she wouldn't forgive herself for that minute of sleep without it. She could have noticed everything at the very beginning. The girl is naive. It's easy to deceive her. She didn't want to fight so much, but once again the decision was made for her. Now the battlefield opened up before her. The dragon has appeared in all its glory and will not leave its victim alive. Not all is lost yet. Sarah, as expected, will do what she wants herself. The girl does not intend to be a puppet in the hands of others. She won't kill the dragon. You can show your strength without that. With the help of a dragon, she can still get to the ball. He would be her ideal speedy transport. The strength in her hands was enough to tame the dragon. But she won't do it anymore. Today Sarah uses some techniques for the first and last time. The dragon had already attacked the girl, but something stopped him. A boy appeared out of thin air. He was a knight who would not allow the young lady to come to harm. Sarah didn't expect anyone to protect her. This experience was something new in her life. They were alone in the field. Between the girl and the dragon stood an unknown person. He was not going to leave her. In his own way, this stranger was beautiful, and his beauty was added by his desire to help selflessly. Sarah's charm knew no bounds. There were no words that could describe her. Until the very end, the guy tried to protect the girl. He would not forgive himself if such beauty were harmed. A second, and there is no brave man. He talked too much and did nothing. There will be retribution for this. So the girl is left alone. She will still have to fight. For a moment her heart sank. Everything was happening too fast. She didn't even have time to meet him before he left her. It was a crazy act on his part. The dragon will not let anyone go. You can't just run away from him. His wrath will find everyone. Such a monster will be difficult to defeat. Here, Sarah will experience the full power of the dragon. First-hand books cannot convey the full range of the dragon's capabilities. The girl has no time to mourn a stranger. She herself has good skills for such a battle. She was a master of the Spartan arts, and no one could break her chains. It's surprising that such a powerful creature fell into the trap so easily. Sarah had been preparing for this battle for so many years, so now she was ready for anything. She couldn't afford to lose face. An amazing picture unfolded on the field. The creature could do nothing against the girl's abilities. As a result, Sarah's plan worked perfectly, and the dragon turned out to be a good means of transport. She would easily let the dragon live if she was delivered directly to the castle, but she could always change her mind due to the dragon's cruelty to people. The dragon ran into the wrong girl. It will be difficult for him to escape from her. Sarah was hoping for a smooth flight, but the dragon had other plans. She would be shown how such creatures actually fly. She can't be distracted. She could break down at any moment. Then all her plans will not come true. The flight was normal until new obstacles appeared on the horizon. The birds had their own plans. They would not change their flight path because of some dragon. The only thing the girl needed to be completely happy was that she still retained her neat appearance, which would now definitely be ruined. And so she lost one piece of jewelry, and for her it was critical. You can't just let go of the bow. It was her highlight. But to do this, she had to go a little beyond the limits. This bow could cost her life. She was inattentive. This accessory distracted her, because of which the danger began to approach. The chains loosened and she lost control of the dragon. The situation had gotten out of control. The dragon now had the advantage, and after all the threats, he would definitely not leave her alone. All she had to do was gather all her strength into a fist. She still had a chance to reach her goal. Everything was fine until she flew away with her tail. The situation was too comical. The dragon still had many abilities that had saved him more than once. His tail would grow back anyway, but now he had one less problem. These were the last seconds of the girl's life. This was not how she had imagined this evening. She was lucky to fall into the trees. Although the landing was hard, she survived. The dress was not eternal. She could not avoid a hard fall. In this case, it was a shame about the dress, but it was only thanks to it that she could still breathe. Only for her, this meant the end. She would not be able to achieve what she wanted. She won't be able to enter the ball like this. She'll only embarrass herself in front of everyone. She will have to meet with one girl to somehow get out of this situation. In the past, ladies would gather for tea parties. It was a truly social event. Gloria's whole appearance exuded confidence, and everything she did was perfect. It was an honor for Sarah to be here, to be spoken to by ladies of noble birth. The girl got ready as best she could. She wanted to look like everyone else. In response, she heard not the nicest words. She tried so hard, but it didn't help her. Sarah couldn't even believe her ears. It was difficult for her to follow the conversations. The main thing for her was to sit here with everyone. Only a select few were allowed to have tea with Gloria. Meeting her was a dream for many. The daughters of famous people gathered here for them. These were ordinary events. The food here was excellent, but it wasn't the main attraction. The Spartan's daughter was the piquant appetizer. As usual, she stood out. She had little experience preparing for such meetings, and it showed. The girls discussed her appearance and did not hide what they thought about her. Gloria, unlike the others, did not see the similarities with her tricks, but she supported her friends in the conversation. To be honest, Sarah imitated her, but it was difficult to tell everyone about it. Gloria was the embodiment of the spirit of fashion. She turned anything into a trend. Sarah so wanted to be just as confident without a sword in her hands, but for her it was an impossible dream. Every time she thought about her status, she was very different from all the girls. The girl tried to hide her feelings so as not to provoke Gloria's hatred. She cannot leave such a meeting. She wanted to find friends here, so sweet lies poured out of her. The words about her mother interested Gloria. At first, she didn't know what to say. Sarah didn't want to answer unnecessary questions. Maybe her lie would help her avoid them. Unfortunately, laughter broke out around the table. Every word Sarah said was a source of humor. Gloria, like everyone else, knows perfectly well about Sarah's marital status, so there is no need to lie here. For the girl, it was a stab in the back. Her family's tragedy was no secret. It was a difficult period for her, which absolutely everyone knows about. Everyone already knows how the Spartan's mother left the house. It seems like it was written about in the newspapers, because the details are known to everyone. There is no point in lying in this circle if Sarah wants to make friends. This whole conversation stirred up some not-so-pleasant memories in her, and a chill ran down her spine. She urgently needs to gather all her willpower into a fist. The evening is not completely ruined. Everything can be fixed. It's better not to tell her anything unnecessary. Let everything take its course. But it seems that everyone felt awkward, and it will be difficult to get the conversation back on track. Sarah is among friends, she can relax, but she does it with great difficulty. No one expected hot tea to fly everywhere. This was the first time this had happened at Gloria's tea party. The mug burst in Sarah's hands. It was difficult for her to keep the Spartan's strength in check. She was too ashamed of what she had done. She needed to clean up this mess immediately. Every action she took made the situation worse. Without control, she could not contain her power. She completely forgot that she could become a threat to her loved ones. At her first and last tea party, she damaged Gloria's delicate skin. It was difficult for her to hide. Her true origin strength burst out of her at the most inopportune moments. No one would dare tell her to her face what everyone thought about her. But it is difficult to hide everything that is written before your eyes. They spoke for themselves. Sarah will always be different from the girls. She won't be able to fit into their group. The girl was so looking forward to this evening. She wanted to show herself from the best side, but everything went wrong again. Her dreams are shattered. She cannot appear in this form. She will be shamed for the rest of her life. The hysteria lasted a long time, and it was difficult to calm down when she still couldn't get what she wanted. Suddenly she was joined by a dead stranger who appeared before her. There wasn't a scratch on him. It was hard to believe that the dragon had touched him. The girl's shock knew no bounds. This evening was full of surprises. It's not clear what he's like, but he's definitely not an ordinary guy. Sarah saw his death with her own eyes, and now she looks at him again. The guy understands perfectly well what the girl is thinking. This would worry everyone. It turned out that he was crushed so hard that he ended up in the dragon's clutches, and he had to keep him company during the flight. It was hard to believe that he managed to survive that blow. Sarah remembers the height from which she fell, so her interlocutor definitely had no chance of survival. The guy himself knows that it's difficult to escape after something like that, but the girl managed to do it. It's strange that the girl wasn't seen as someone who possessed extraordinary strength. This was the first time something like this had happened. She had to tell about her origins herself, but it was difficult. In her soul, she hid the hope that her tears were unnoticeable. She didn't need to disgrace herself here either. The girl was an unusual person, so all her talents could be shown in front of her. The guy himself was not simple with the gift of healing. It was not so easy to cripple him. Sarah had never seen a person in front of her who was as different from those around her as she was. He has more than just the power of restoration with it. The guy can do a lot. Thanks to him, any disease can go away, no matter how fatal it may be. His hands can cure everything. They will have a long conversation. Sarah wants to know everything about the guy's family, about the origin of his power. The guy liked this interest. No one had shown such sincere curiosity towards him for a long time. Sarah had heard about the cursed family before, but she never thought she would meet its members. In an instant, she felt ashamed of her words. She shouldn't offend her new acquaintance. Unfortunately, almost everyone reacts this way to a guy. She has nothing to be ashamed of. It has already become the norm. He was used to such moments. His family left a mark on all descendants. The family's home was called the Abode of Death. Every appearance of theirs ended the same way. Everything around them loses its vitality. People like them will definitely not be invited to social events. It was strange that those who spread the infection could take it away and help it recover. For the girl, this meeting was a gift from fate. All her wounds were healed. Just for this reason, the forest had to be killed. Life energy had to come from somewhere. Thanks to the forest, he was able to save his life. Other lives were consumed to restore one human life. This couldn't help but frighten her, and perhaps she shouldn't get close to such a person. All this was enough. The only thing missing was for an entire forest to die because of her treatment. It is clear to the naked eye how his magic affects the world around him. This is the law of equivalent exchange. One must absorb equivalent energy to heal a living being. Sarah learned firsthand how easy it is to take away the power of plants. It's a kind of sacrifice. He couldn't leave the girl with wounds. With more materials, the guy could have achieved more. They both saw something amazing, and it took them a while to speak. While walking through the forest, they came across a lost dragon tail. This limb is a good material for magic. Thanks to the girl, they had the opportunity to do some magic. The guy wasn't against it, but Sarah didn't share his optimism. The girl was completely transformed, even her dress was restored, but magic is not eternal, and like Cinderella, she has until midnight. The dragon scale dress is amazing, no one else will have anything like it. For such kindness, the girl is obliged to repay the stranger he saved her from shame. Her dream can still come true. Her eyes sparkled with happiness. It seemed that such a familiar person could not be lost sight of. His name is Peter. Maybe he will accompany the girl to the debutante ball. Sarah wants to show everyone such a wonderful guy. Everyone should know about his abilities. It had been a long time since anyone had treated the guy so warmly. The offer was tempting, but he had things to do. It was important for Peter to finish treating that very dragon. They had developed a good relationship. Moreover, she just had children who needed to be fed, which is why there are attacks on human settlements. It seems that only the girl's family lacks compassion. There was little time left, so it was time for the girl to run. This was the only way she could still make it to the ball. The meeting turned out to be chaotic. Peter wanted to talk to her a little longer, but he was quickly left. He had only pleasant feelings about Sarah. He had never spent time so strangely before, but that didn't matter. The girl is happy. She is on the verge of fulfilling her dream. The palace impresses with its size. There is definitely room for all guests. Guests from all over the world arrived here. Some were waiting for special people to appear. The Grand Duke arrived at the ball. His appearance alone evoked admiration, not to mention his merits. The guests could not hide their admiration. They saw the main person of this event. It is unknown what brought Michael here. It is time for him to think about marriage. It seems that this event was one of the ways for him to find a suitable bride. One day, in a mansion shrouded in darkness, a child with an unusual appearance appeared. He was different from his relatives. He was raised as a warrior from childhood. He certainly can't be called a worthy groom. But for the girls it didn't matter. They only paid attention to his appearance. They didn't give him a break, showered him with compliments, each one wanting to get at least a little of his attention. The girls weren't looking around, so one of them bumped into another guest and immediately felt ashamed. Gloria was fine, but it was better not to touch her. She did not show her feelings. It seemed that the company of commoners did not please her. The poor thing had no idea what an important person she was dealing with. Gloria was the center of attention, admired and envied at the same time. Jewelry was made for her, which later became public property. Absolutely everyone was drawn to the girl. Her appearance was awaited at every event. She herself did not stand aside after the guy appeared. Gloria had every opportunity to get him. Only Michael himself had no idea who was standing in front of him. It's a disaster. The girl known to the whole world was unknown to the eligible bachelor. Rumors immediately began to spread that everyone would know about the girl's failure. Gloria was rejected. For her, it was the end of her life. The girls discussed this moment for a long time. It was the most interesting thing in their lives. Gloria doesn't pay attention to anyone. She has been humiliated. This situation will remain in the memory of all the guests for a long time. Just by her appearance, it was clear how offended she was. The girls follow her closely. They cannot lag behind her. They have to leave the guy's company. It was more important to go after Gloria. The girl glanced at the Duke one last time. She didn't want to say goodbye to him. Michael stubbornly pretended not to pay attention, but nothing could escape his gaze. He saw every girl but just pretended not to be interested. It was the most tiring event in his life. The guy would gladly have exchanged it for some battle. Everything was going smoothly until he felt a strange energy. Something strange was approaching. The aura is coming from outside the castle. It seems like everyone could be in danger. Sarah didn't slow down. She moved at a speed that not every vehicle could reach. Her goal was close. The last guest was about to appear at the ball. Michael remains calm despite the demonic invasion, but his reaction can scare everyone. Even though he didn't have a sword, the guy could still fight demons. He had a powerful aura. He expected an attack, but instead of demons, a pretty girl appeared. Sarah's dream came true. She came to the ball looking her best. Running did not spoil her appearance. This event could have been fun for the guy, but nothing worked out. Sarah had no idea how beautiful the palace was, but now she can see it with her own eyes. Everything was much more beautiful than she could have imagined. Among all the guests, only Michael paid attention to her. He kept looking at her. It looks like she has found her first admirer. No wonder she wanted to get here so much. Some people had a strange reaction to her appearance. The dragon dress frightened those around her. Now Michael is worried. With renewed vigor, he sees a threat in this little girl. The palace servants did not fulfill their duties, they did not greet the girl properly, and did not even open the door for her. But their help was not needed, and the door was opened without them. Sarah was the eldest daughter of the Spartan family, and for her status, she looked great. Many people know what power members of such a family possess. Gloria hadn't seen Sarah for a long time. A lot of time had passed since their last tea party. Sarah's appearance at the ball embarrassed the girl a little, since important people were attending this event. The girl's style is unique. All eyes are on her. At first, Sarah felt uncomfortable here, but she quickly came to her senses. For her, this was the most important event in her entire life. Now all the talk was only about her. This luxury amazed everyone. It was time for Sarah and Gloria to meet, and there was a sense of awkwardness between them. Sarah was somewhat glad to meet Gloria, and she recalled that incident for a long time. Gloria wasn't going to speak. Everything could be read in her eyes. It was difficult for the girl to even pronounce her name. With tears, she could ruin the whole impression of herself. Gloria had only one solution for the girl. Ignoring her was the best option. Sarah hoped to hear at least something from her former friend. Such a reaction towards her was insulting. But this was expected. Their last meeting did not end in the best way. Heather stood to the side, unsure how to comment on the situation. Finally, the ball began. Music flowed from everywhere. Glasses clinked. People forgot about all their problems. Here they could have fun. Unfortunately, the girl was left alone. Unlike the others, she had no friends here. All the guys had eyes only for Gloria. Everyone wanted to dance with her. No one looked at Sarah anymore. She was of no interest to any of the men present. They surrounded Gloria. She didn't feel sorry for Sarah at all. It only made her laugh. Only Gloria failed to attract the attention of the evening's eligible bachelor. Lonely Sarah was chosen by the best guy of the evening. Michael showed gallantry to her. He respected everyone, regardless of status. For him, dancing with such a lady would be an honor here, only she would perceive him as an equal with everyone else. It was an honor for Sarah to be his partner during the dance. Thoughts about the guy's appearance kept popping into my head. His white hair stood out from the picture of dark-haired people. Gloria can't believe her eyes. The guy who is important to her has refused her company. Michael did not see in the girl the strength that all Spartans possess. In front of him stood a pretty person. He simply has to find out how true the words about this family's reputation are. Sarah repeated all the movements in her head like a mantra. She couldn't allow herself to embarrass herself at a moment like this. The girl's happiness knew no bounds. She couldn't even imagine that the evening would go like this. She had never stood so close to a stranger before. Sarah learned to dance in secret from her father with the help of a maid, but that was the end of her experience. The girl kept thinking that she couldn't be wrong, and it was at that moment that it happened. With the girl's strength, any step could be a disaster. She didn't want to hurt the guy. Michael didn't show that he was not okay. He didn't want to embarrass himself in front of her. However, his bones were broken from a single step. The guy paid for his mistakes. The lady in front of him was not an ordinary girl. No one could have imagined that she would have such courage to appear here with her power. Those around them had no idea what was really going on. They only admired the beautiful couple. They looked great together. They seemed like they were made for each other. Despite all the difficulties, Michael saved face. No one can even imagine how much he suffers. Sarah couldn't even imagine what her first dance would be like. She had little experience in dancing, but in Michael's hands she moved perfectly. With each passing minute she moved better and better. Her admiration knew no bounds. The guy led her into the dance so easily she never stumbled again. It was such a perfect moment. I just wanted to give myself over completely to the music. Unfortunately, the girl's legs sometimes lagged behind. She hit the guy in the same spot. The pain was hellish. Michael didn't flinch. He wouldn't show her what he really felt. It seemed like the girl was testing his strength. You wanted to get into her head to understand her intentions. No woman had ever kept Michael on such edge. Sarah was captivating in her appearance alone. She didn't look like a warrior. Only she had enough power to suppress the youngest swordmaster on the continent. She could not be underestimated. In the past, he had refused sled dogs. He had no use for them. But everything had already been decided without even realizing it. He had chosen the dog and would not let him go. The girl looked at him with monstrous strength and innocent eyes, like an angel who had come down from heaven. Her look was too sweet. You don't expect problems from her. Sarah continued to step on the man's feet. Soon there would be no living space left on them. This time she stepped a little harder, causing the girl to panic. The girl was following the guy. She needed to know how he was feeling. Michael was ashamed to admit that he had been beaten by a girl without her even trying. The people continued to dance, not paying attention to the Duke's suffering. But there was one couple who continued to follow the sweet couple. Sarah was happy. She didn't stand aside while everyone was having fun. The couple continued to dance despite all the difficulties that accompanied them. They looked great for their first dance together, and neither of them planned on stopping. People looked at them with pleasure, as the surrounding atmosphere was filled with something magical. Michael didn't show how difficult it was for him, but Sarah was happy to dance with him. She didn't pay attention to the difficulties between them. From the outside, it looked like a fascinating duel. Every step the girl took could lead to the end of this event. Sarah moved faster and faster. Because of this, the guy did not have time to move his legs. Every bone in his body was in danger. It was as if he were walking across an old field, and every step could be his last. His strength, of course, was enough to restore minor fractures, but there were too many of them. Unfortunately, he cannot answer her. He has to endure this pain. The girl urgently needs to collect her thoughts. She must not make mistakes. Michael doesn't know how he can deal with the girl. She didn't have any plan. The guy didn't see any way to gain any advantage. Gloria kept an eye on the couple all the time. She didn't care about those who walked around her. The main guy was not with her anyway. It was amazing that the Silver Wolf was so tense during a simple dance. She herself wanted to dance with him, but Michael never let Sarah go, and they did not change partners. The girl could not even imagine that they would not choose her. She was the best in this palace. Gloria was traded for some kind of bad taste. She can't let go and forget about something like that. She needs to show her magnificence. Now that people's attention was drawn to Gloria, they had a new topic for discussion. Gloria is the only one of her kind who can dare to dance solo, so she will charm everyone in the area. The partner next to her will forget about everything after such a performance. This is how Gloria captures her victim. It was not for nothing that she was popular among young people. She was called the Star of the Empire. No one has a chance to surpass her in dancing. She was the best at it. She was born like this. She could only be compared to a star. No man in this empire would dare to reject her. Gloria got everything she wanted, but now she couldn't get what she wanted. It was a blow to her. The enviable guy did not choose her. He preferred a girl who delighted him with her simplicity. Here the girl could do nothing. No matter how gorgeous she looked, she stood to the side. There was something special about her that attracted Michael, something Gloria definitely didn't have. She had never lost. Now she was beaten by an ordinary girl. For her, it was the worst day of her life. Suddenly she was asked to dance. The guy next to her radiated warmth. He was handsome, and there were plenty of handsome men at this event. Gloria despaired too early. She received an offer from the prince himself. She greeted the crown prince with all due respect. It was an honor for her to speak with him. Now the lady's attention shifted to the new couple. The prince charmed everyone with renewed vigor. No one could have imagined that the prince would arrive at the celebration when he had too many state affairs to attend to. Gloria met the prince with all seriousness. She must save her face. She can breathe out. She can let go of all the formality. 15 years have passed since their last meeting, and during this time they have changed a lot. The prince was pleased to see the beautiful lady in front of him. He remembered that little naughty girl in her. They had changed a lot before Gloria barely reached his waist. It had been too long since their last meeting, and she had difficulty recognizing the boy as her childhood friend. That evening, the prince made only one offer to dance, and only Gloria deserved it. For some, this was not surprising, since the girl was beaming even while standing still. Perhaps this dance will be the beginning of a new relationship. Gloria would make a good crown princess. They were a good match. They needed to meet a long time ago. For her, this was a chance to rise even higher in society. The birth of two brothers allowed the history of a new continent to begin. They supported each other, and their joint work bore fruit. While dancing, they even managed to talk. They discussed their affairs like old friends. Everyone, including the prince, knows how the girl graced the pages of magazines. She is famous all over the world. At that moment, the girl's happiness knew no bounds. It was difficult for her to hide her feelings. Everything was written on her face. She doesn't care about the Duke anymore. He can continue having fun with Sarah. Gloria has a new, more important admirer. Meanwhile, the girl continued to enjoy the evening, but in her head everything was not so wonderful. Peter looked after the castle as best he could. He had no important business to attend to now, and could spend his time as he wished. If he were next to the girl, he would definitely remind her of the time. But the dragon liked everything, and the child felt great next to the guy. The little dragon didn't care about anything, he wanted more to feel the affection of his new friend. Peter himself was not against spending time this way, and he did everything to make sure that the evening went perfectly for everyone, so there was no need to worry. He warned the girl about the time limitation the cloth would remain on her until all the wounds from the fall were healed. Sarah ignored all the words. She was more concerned with her appearance. She had never looked so lovely. During such a fun evening, the lady completely forgot that she needed to be attentive, otherwise everything could end up ruining her life. Sarah didn't pay attention to the time. She forgot about all precautions. Michael was the first to notice the oddities in the girl's appearance. Her time was up. Only now did Sarah realize that she had missed one of the most important moments, and that she would not be able to get rid of such shame. Her dress quickly returned to its former appearance. All her beauty disappeared in an instant. For Gloria, this was another gift from fate. She would gladly watch the suffering of the one who stole the evening's attention. Sarah would rather die than find herself in this situation. She won't be able to get rid of the extra glances. Michael was the only one who wanted to protect her from suffering. For him, it was an unexpected step. The only thing he received in return was not gratitude. He would be lucky if not all his bones were broken. The girl's blow sent him flying several meters. That's how you help girls in trouble. This was not all the force that the boy felt on himself, but the mark on the wall will be difficult to remove. The girl left the event in tears. There was nothing more for her to do there. A silent silence accompanied her. No one dared to say anything. The atmosphere had changed dramatically. Gloria will remember this performance forever. Unlike the girl, she does not pretend to be a lady. In principle, this situation did not surprise her. Gloria knows perfectly well that Sarah has nothing that could somehow attract attention. Gloria is cruel in her comparisons. She saw Sarah as a worthless girl from a poor family, and nothing could be done about it. Unlike her, Adam was not so cruel. This curious situation did not make him laugh. He was genuinely worried about the girl. And once again, Gloria lost the attention she had been seeking. Such an evening was ruined. The girl was hysterical, and it was difficult to figure out how to fix the situation. She was completely alone. There was no way to wash away such shame. The dream evening turned into a tragedy. Many people probably laughed at her. It's good that she didn't see all this in real life. In any case, it was not her fault. One could not expect that such a beautiful dress would decide to leave her. Everything was ruined in an instant. Sarah had never suffered so much. Suddenly, she had a company that wanted to help her in some way. It was hard to believe that after this, anyone would come to her. It seemed that after this, everyone would stop perceiving her as an equal. Adam was not one of those people. He could not leave the girl alone with her problems. He didn't want to scare the girl. The guy came to her with good intentions. That was his nature. Sarah certainly didn't expect such a person to come to her aid. It was hard to believe that she was worthy of such attention. The prince himself did not stand aside. He always helped those in need, so he could not pass by the girl. It's amazing that they abandoned Gloria for Sarah. Her feelings turned out to be more important than anything else. She can't let herself become weak in front of him. What's important here isn't his help itself, but how he ended up here. He couldn't be hurt at all. The guy moves as quietly as possible. He wanted to talk to Lady Spartan. It's not often you meet people from that family. It was difficult for Sarah to even look at him. His light blinded the girl. Remembering all the proprieties, the girl greeted the Prince of the Empire. She could not seem rude in front of him. The guy likes this kind of acquaintance. He always liked making new acquaintances, especially with such strong people. He couldn't even imagine that such a beauty would be found in the knightly family. The girl in front of him didn't look like a warrior at all. Sarah was pleased to hear compliments, but she was still nervous, and she kept trying to deny everything the guy said. She had never experienced such embarrassment before, but gathering all her will into a fist, she was able to utter words of gratitude. A kind man appeared before her among all the guests. There was only one who did not leave her alone with her problems. It all seems like a dream. Sometimes the evening goes perfectly, sometimes everything turns into a nightmare, and in the end, the prince himself comes to the rescue. At the event, guests noticed the prince was missing. No one could imagine where or with whom he was currently spending his time. Sarah had a keen ear, and she immediately heard everyone rushing to find the prince, which only increased her anxiety. Adam had no intention of coming back. He enjoyed spending time with Sarah the most. Everything else was not for him. He asks to remain silent. They don't need to be found. They are having a wonderful time together. The girl never thought that she could find herself in such a situation with the prince. It was too intimate for a stranger. Adam was grateful that his identity was hidden. He didn't want to return to the palace. He had nothing to do there. All the girl's thoughts were confused. The words stuck in her throat. She could not say anything to the prince. All good things must come to an end. It was time for the prince to return to his business. He was pleased to be distracted for a while. A second later, the girl was left alone. She had seen too many wizards in one day. She had, of course, heard about the guy's abilities, but she had no idea what level he possessed. Only a few could demonstrate such art. I would like to believe that this is not their last meeting. One can learn a lot from such a master. Sarah's mood lifts a little. This small meeting helped her not to fall apart completely. It will be difficult for her to get home in this form. No one else can see the dress. They might think strange things about her. Meanwhile, Peter had no problems. He walked calmly through the forest with the dragon. The little dragon himself was also doing just fine. Surprisingly, he felt good next to a human. He didn't even need his own mother. He had a good sense of smell. The little dragon can sense something happening from kilometers away. The boy himself can only react to changes in the child's behavior, but the child, unfortunately, cannot explain everything to him. Only after walking a little forward did he realize what the problem was. A strange energy appeared out of nowhere. It continues to gain volume, and it is unclear how to get rid of it. The smell was also disgusting. The guy had no ideas about it. He just wanted to get out of here as quickly as possible. But he can't do that. He needs to deal with the problem as quickly as possible before someone gets hurt. Peter had enough strength, but here it is not enough. First of all, he harms himself of his own free will. He wasn't ready for this. He can, of course, treat himself, but everything has its limits. In this situation, the dragon can do nothing. It is better for him to stand aside so as not to interfere and not to get hurt himself. But this does not cancel out his rage. His whole appearance shows what he thinks about this whole situation. The boy's limbs begin to rot, this strange substance draining his strength. With the help of magic, he manages to bring life back to his hand, but it cost him a huge amount of effort, and many trees gave their lives for it. Unfortunately, the process was irreversible. The changes in his hand returned after treatment, and the guy can't do anything about it. He needs something out of the ordinary to reverse the disease, and the dragon can't help him with that. Peter knows what illness struck him down, and it was one of the most terrible diseases that befell the people. He was sure that she no longer existed, but she returned with renewed strength, and it would be difficult to defeat her. The guy understands perfectly well what can await them if this disease spreads across the continent. According to the guy's calculations, 2/3 of the population will die immediately, and only the strongest will survive. The guy has a difficult task on his shoulders. He needs to fix all the places of rot that he finds. Maybe he will be able to prevent a catastrophe. But he can't handle this alone. He definitely needs help, and he needs everyone who can help. The next day, the girl was not going to give up her desires. Sarah must always look great. She immediately had fans. Everyone will fight for her heart. Guys lose their heads at one look at her. They are ready to give everything they have, just so the girl gets in touch with them. Sarah loved the attention. She was irresistible, and she intended to remain that way forever. The fairy tale came to an end. The dress began to fall apart before everyone's eyes, and not a trace remained of its grandeur. All love for her immediately evaporated. The guys immediately felt ashamed of all their words. It was a complete nightmare. The girl was disgraced again. Her hysteria could be heard on another continent. It was lucky that all this shame was in a dream. In reality, she would not have experienced it. This is not the first time she has had such a dream. A month has passed since the ball, but those feelings still haven't left her. The father was extremely dissatisfied with the girl. He did not even think of being soft with her. For everything she had done, she was sent to prison so that she could think about her behavior. He expected something more worthy from his eldest daughter, but all his expectations were destroyed. After the ball, nothing happened. The girl's life didn't change at all, and to some extent this upset her. Sarah continued to behave as usual. Life goes on as usual. You need to do your own thing. She watched Gloria grace the cover of the new issue once again, something Sarah would never do. Everyone in this world is developing, not standing still, but Sarah has no such prospects. Everything has been decided for her. Sarah, as usual, spent her time with magazines. There was nothing interesting there, but something still caught her attention. Someone left a letter for her. It was something new in her life. The Duke himself wrote to her. This was something out of the ordinary. The girl read in one gulp how the guy was interested in her mood. He remembered their dance with warmth in his soul. A whole month had passed since the letter had been sent, and Sarah still hadn't responded. It was rude of her, but she didn't even know that someone was writing to her. And it was at that moment that the maid appeared on the threshold. No one should see the girl in such a vulnerable state. It turned out that Sarah had guests, whom she also did not know about. Everything was happening without her knowledge. Without waiting for an answer, Michael came to the girl himself in his case. It was easier to take matters into his own hands. As soon as Sarah learned about the letter, its sender showed up at her house. Such a coincidence is difficult to describe. The silence dragged on. The girl didn't know how to start the conversation. As the man Michael was the one who started the conversation, he never received a response to the letter, which was a bit offensive. She had to make up an excuse on the fly. Her illness prevented her from even reading the letter, let alone replying. Michael is too smart. He recognizes such obvious lies too quickly. Sarah didn't have time to think of anything better. She had already said everything. All that remained was to come to terms with the situation. Unexpectedly, when the guy told her about an effective treatment method, the girl was again shown concern. He is even willing to send her some medication to prevent this from happening again. So she doesn't understand what she did to deserve such an attitude towards herself. Sarah didn't do anything so amazing that one could think about her. The guy didn't forget their first meeting. He remembered it every day. This dance was unusual. The girl sparkled until the clock struck midnight. All this time, Michael tried to sort out his feelings, but nothing worked. For this, he needs a girl. Only after that he will be able to sleep peacefully. Sarah couldn't even imagine that her appearance in someone's life could leave a mark. She imagined her influence on those around her differently. The girl tries to remain calm as best she can. A huge distance has been covered to meet her, so there is no need to upset the guy. Once she had a bite to eat, she would be able to think of something to ease the Duke's suffering. She watched the guy's every move, so his oddities did not go unnoticed. At some point, Michael's face changed. Something strange was happening to him. A shudder ran through his body. He himself could not explain what was happening to him. The panic was growing. The conversation was no longer normal. Sarah had no experience in such situations, so she certainly couldn't help. Michael can't lift a cup. Everything here was designed for strong people, which, unfortunately, he did not belong to. The maids have earned respect if they carry all this in such quantities for them. All this is no problem. He is ashamed to tell the girl the reason for his behavior. He doesn't want to become a weakling in her eyes. His silence only made the situation worse. It seemed like he didn't like being there. It was difficult for himself to admit that the problem arose because of the dishes, but it was not his fault that he did not have such inhuman strength. With all his efforts, he manages to move the mug with difficulty, and he still has to maintain a calm appearance. If the girl had known what kind of inconvenience her power caused to ordinary people, she would have definitely prepared for this meeting. The situation is predictable. Michael needs to spend enough aura to move the cup. His life has not prepared him for this. Sarah is happy that the guy likes everything here for her, as the hostess. This was important. After a complex tea party, it was time to go for a walk. Michael was lucky to find himself in the girl's favorite place. The greenhouse inspired her. The girl showed him each flower in the hope that the guy would like her hobby. But she presented all this to the wrong person. The guy was too weak for this house. Everything that fell into his hands immediately flew to the ground. Michael was eating himself up from the inside. He couldn't enjoy spending time with his girlfriend. Only destruction came from him. Sarah is not afraid of what is happening. She will quickly put everything back in its place. The guy must not let his guard down around his mistress. He must not break anything else. Perhaps there is something in which the guy can surpass Sarah. She learned to work with a sword, but her skills never reached perfection. The swords weren't simple either. The guy again needed to use aura to use them. Sarah constantly releases aura. It's already a habit for her, so she doesn't have any difficulties. The girl just wanted to show off her skills. Something more interesting awaits her. The eldest of the Mont Blanc clan challenges the girl to a duel. It will be a glorious battle between people with different abilities. The girl trained all her life, but she definitely didn't have the strength to stand on par with him. She didn't intend to fight, but she had no choice. She definitely couldn't leave. Michael knows all the intricacies of duels. Hair will definitely be superfluous here. Sarah herself doesn't pay much attention to such trifles. She's more focused on her future actions. The aura around him changed. The guy felt it with his whole body. This was to be expected when the sword ended up in the girl's hands. Michael should be prepared for any twists of fate. Just one look at the girl showed how long she had been training. Even here, she showed all possible ease. This will be a good experience for the guy, thanks to which he will be able to show a master class in the future. Sarah is ready for any step the Duke takes. Perhaps this is the moment she has been training for every day. Michael had only taken a step when he lost sight of his opponent, in fact. His skills were not enough here. Sarah quickly deceived him, and he didn't even notice how he found himself in a difficult situation. In a moment he was attacked, and with the girl's power, any gift could become deadly. Every step Sarah took was honed to perfection. She thought ahead to accurately hit her target. Michael could do with eyes in the back of his head. Here he can't keep up with the girl's movements, even though he has much more experience in this. Sarah herself can't shake the strangeness of this battle. Everything is going too easily. She was able to repel any attack from the guy, and from the outside she looked more experienced. All the Duke's movements are read instantly with his experience. He cannot surprise the girl. Sarah had hoped for a fair fight, the only way she could learn anything new, but it seemed that wasn't the case this time. I'd like to believe that Michael is doing this on purpose. After all, he is fighting a fragile girl. The battles with her father were much more difficult with him. She didn't have time to breathe, so now it all seems like child's play. Michael tries his best to show all his talents. It is not for nothing that he is called the best among those who own a sword. Sarah had no problems. She easily repelled all attacks without even getting out of breath. She can defeat him in one blow, but she has no desire to trample the guy. Sarah can easily ruin his career. At some point she lost her sword, so she was left without her main weapon. It all seemed natural, and Sarah had a wonderful moment to end it all in the guy's favor. Michael understands perfectly well what the girl is capable of. He is not going to stop fighting. The real winner has not yet been revealed. The guy won't tolerate such disrespect. You need to fight your opponent with full force. For this battle, Michael uses all his strength. He simply has to show what he is truly capable of. The girl has to agree with all the guests' decisions. Nothing here depended on her. It seemed that Sarah's patience had run out. She thought about saving his pride, but now there was no point in that. Rage rose from the depths of his heart. Michael cannot afford to lose without trying. He will not forgive himself for this. He prepared to strike with all his might. It was not for nothing that he bore the status of a great swordsman. This was a new twist in their battle. The girl accepts the challenge and will fight to the end. So they clashed. Their forces were unequal, but the outcome was not yet clear. Sarah didn't give up, and now she too had the passion to show what her people were capable of. It was a powerful attack from two people. The girl didn't have a scratch, but her mood was not the best. However, what she saw in front of her made her believe in her own strength. Now with one more damaged sword, Michael had no chance of winning in a fair fight. Even his cute face was crippled. It would have been better if he had given up on it all at the very beginning. One blow took all his strength, but even so he could not resist the lady. It seems that Sarah overdid it. She should have controlled herself. She doesn't want to be the reason the guy gets hurt, but with her strength, she could accidentally hurt him. The guy's suspicions were confirmed, so he had come here for a reason, and there were some advantages to losing. Sarah was worried about his well-being. Some guesses and theories didn't really bother her, but the guy conveyed his concern to her. Michael had a hard time finding his words after such a lesson. It was hard to express everything clearly. To put it simply, he had an official request to the girl. He is not ashamed to ask about it. This unexpected tenderness towards the girl is amazing. It seemed to her that she had done everything wrong in relation to the guy. Sarah is great, so she needs to become the Duke's mentor. Only she can raise his level of swordsmanship. William had no idea how his daughter spent her time. He would definitely like it. The training was excellent. Michael must win. Another loss will leave a mark on his career. This was a new experience for Sarah. She commented on every step the guy took so that he wouldn't make mistakes. To some extent, the man enjoyed watching how his daughter channeled her energy in the right direction. The battle must come to an end. No matter how strong the girl is, she has her limits. Michael hasn't been this exhausted in a long time, but with this kind of training, he can become the best version of himself. They fought all night. The sun had already risen. It was time for them to go their separate ways. But Michael isn't going to stop. He has a lot to learn. Sarah regretted 100 times that she brought the guy here. Now she still can't get rid of him. She still has enough strength to drive Michael away, unlike the guy. She still has a sense of proportion. Sarah wanted to be a lady, but things didn't go according to plan, and due to her own stupidity, she fought all night long. She shouldn't have expected any nobility from the Duke. She needed to take a few lessons in personality analysis, so that such curious situations wouldn't happen again. The father saw the Duke as a good friend for his daughter with him. There was a chance that the girl would achieve something. William himself regularly guides the girl on the right path, and now he can be proud of her. In fact, Sarah won the heart of the Grand Duke. Her strength was no obstacle to him. The girl's new friend will go down in history for the first time. People didn't run away screaming from her, but wanted to spend time with her. She had a new position. She felt strange in the role of a mentor, but she needed it herself. The dessert I prepared was inspired by the guy and tasted as good as the Duke. It was a good moment to go back in time. One look at the moon made her think of one guy. Too many of them had been around her lately. I wanted to see Peter again and find out his attitude towards the girl. She still doesn't know how to thank him for all his help. The girl has never been indebted to anyone. Nothing foreshadowed trouble until Sarah's ears were attracted by a strange noise. The girl was not alone for long. Uninvited guests arrived at her place in not the best condition. Sarah, of course, has incredible strength, but this does not stop her from fearing for her life. The stranger had no intention of answering her. He was too calm. The girl's trap slammed shut, and she collided with someone solid and frightening. It seemed like the danger was off the charts, but the guest lost consciousness, and Sarah shouldn't worry about this nonsense at all. This was a good opportunity to study the guest. She would always have time to drive him away. The stranger looked menacing in his mask, but underneath it there might be a rather nice person hidden. As a guest, she imagined a wide variety of people, and the picture that opened up amazed her. Peter found an interesting way to visit the girl, but he didn't prepare for it well enough. Sarah has been through a variety of situations in her life, and she is ready for any battle, but she has no experience in this. You can't even call anyone so as not to arouse suspicion. He decided to pick on the wrong person. He should have realized beforehand how easy it would be for the girl to knock him out. It took a lot of time to meet her. Something terrible must have happened if her help was needed. The girl will have to do everything herself. She had so few tasks. She was going to help the guy come to his senses, but on her way, Sarah found something interesting. She had an excellent library in which one could find information about all known families. It's still useful to spend time with books. She easily found a book about Peter's family. It's time to replenish her knowledge. It's unpleasant to read about a cursed family, but that was their story. They gave their entire lives to the lands there. Many tried to stop the attack, but no one succeeded. It is impossible. Since then, the Terran family has become an outcast in high society, constantly talking about the problems they bring with them. Sarah was lucky enough to meet one of them in real life, and her impressions were completely different from what was written. In the books, she couldn't find a single kind word about the family. They were portrayed as truly evil people. Just by looking at the guy, you wouldn't think that death is following him on his heels. After all the help she had shown, it was hard to believe that there was a villain lying in the room whom she herself would help. She was ashamed of her actions, so if she could bring him back to his senses, she would be able to make amends. She kept remembering that evening how everything around her died to make her feel better. Without his help, her dream would not have been possible, so she owes him a lot. That's why Sarah doesn't push him away for all the support he's given her. The guy has earned her respect. She was overly vigilant in monitoring the guy's condition. Any of his movements did not go unnoticed. Only now did the girl realize how handsome her interlocutor was. Maybe she would have been able to touch him, prove to herself that he was real, but the unexpected awakening ruined all her plans. It seemed like they caught her doing something strange. She just needed to satisfy her curiosity. The girl needs to treat her nervous system. She knocked the guy out again. There won't be a single living place left of him. It's lucky he can use the power for himself, otherwise he wouldn't have gotten out of here alive, and the girl would be wearing this cross. Sarah is easily distracted from her work. The glitter fascinates her. The origin of the staff is unclear to her. It burns and then goes out. Before her eyes, fireflies gave their lives for the good of the guy. That is the price of health. The traces left behind disappeared slowly but surely, after which it would be impossible to say that anyone had touched him. It's good when you can heal yourself. Without this ability, he would have been in the grave long ago. They say that this family is spreading infection. There is nothing living on their land because of a curse. In fact, it was a gift that could save many lives in exchange for the energy of the universe. Sarah knows many epithets, but here she can't find the right one. Such strength is difficult to describe. She continued to court the guy. The girl did everything possible. It was time for her to stop. Finally, Peter came to his senses. After all the beatings, he was fine. The air was electric. The girl felt awkward from the intense gaze. She couldn't say anything. The guy wasn't tense. It seemed like he was happy after everything that happened. In fact, the guy doesn't even understand where he is. His brain didn't start working right away. Still, the blows left their mark. His head was splitting. The girl was unlucky. Her blows were so strong that no amount of force would help her recover. Too much time had passed since the guy's arrival after the blow. His sleep was long. Sarah had a normal reaction to the appearance of a stranger in her room. She still treated the guy weakly. Peter is to blame himself. He should have made an appointment with him instead of showing up in the middle of the night when no one was expecting him. The matter was urgent. There was no time to observe propriety. With the help of a pen, he will clearly show what difficulties are approaching the continent. The black hole is approaching. The mana bursting out of her consumes everything in its path. Peter had to start the story from afar to make the picture clear. Sarah had heard about the war between houses and factions. She had history lessons. The guy still can't imagine how many people died after everything that happened. According to him, thousands of bodies were decomposing, the balance of the earth was shifting, and this was only the beginning. Pure mana mixed with the blood of the slain, all of this gave birth to a destructive force that came out. This all seemed more like a horror story. Sarah refused to believe it. It was just a stupid joke. The guy can easily assume that the dead decided to take revenge on all the living. There were too many of them. As a doctor, Peter can use the term for a disease that leaves no one untouched. There is no immunity. He wants to put an end to this, but Peter alone can't do it. Sarah has extraordinary strength. It's nothing for her to deal with the dragon. By joining forces, they can save the world by stopping the spread of the infection together. The couple will overcome everything. The guy needs a new energy source that will allow him to heal everyone in the area. With her power, Sarah can become this source. She has enough opportunities to help the whole world. It is impossible to give an answer right away. You need to think everything through carefully so as not to suffer because of your choice in the future. The very fact of using force as a source frightened her. It was difficult to decide on such a thing. Peter asked for a lot, so the girl's reaction did not surprise him. Courage is needed here. Every deal must have its own benefit. A girl wouldn't risk herself for nothing. In exchange, Peter is ready to give her his heart. He will belong completely to her. This wasn't how Sarah had planned to meet her life partner. She had a good candidate for this role. Peter will always be by her side. He will not allow the clawed death to take the girl for himself. In her head, the girl imagined this proposal in some special way. It was impossible to say all this so bluntly. The girl herself is only happy to walk side by side with the guy. Sarah cannot calmly express everything she thinks. The guy had never made such an offer to anyone before, so the lack of response confused him. The girl's subsequent proposals were unnecessary. She did not need anything to demand financial assistance from the guy. For such rudeness, Peter was punished. He should keep his mouth shut. Sarah was mistaken for the wrong person, and wrong conclusions were drawn because of her silence. Peter will have to spend his energy on recovery again. He is already tired of doing this today. So the girl has driven herself into a dead end, from which she sees no way out. Morning came. The maids were doing their work as usual. They did not have any special orders. A beautiful picture opened up before her. The maid was clearly superfluous here. They had a good relationship, so now everyone was ashamed the time had not yet come for such a rapprochement. Now the main thing is to make sure that no one finds out about this. The maid must keep her mouth shut. For some reason, Sarah started making excuses, but this made the situation even more awkward. It was better to just keep quiet. It is obvious to the naked eye that the maid does not believe it, but it is not for her to judge the girl. Still, she decided to remind her about another guy who had recently come to the girl. The lady had too many gentlemen. Sarah hasn't been as radiant as she is now in the last couple of years, and she exudes happiness. These words touched the girl. No matter how awkward it was, the maid showed her all her respect. She will do everything to ensure that no one finds out about this embarrassment. Peter has never encountered any showdowns that he himself caused. He himself felt uncomfortable about the situation, but the deed was done. He just needed to accept what had happened. The best breakfast was prepared for the couple, and the maid did not forget to mention the master's departure. It was a good moment for Sarah to take a walk with her new companion. Through her lands, no one would disturb her. In fact, no one asked the guy's opinion. He was practically presented with the fact that they were going for a walk, but he was not against keeping her company, and something new appeared in his life. On the streets, they paid no attention to passers-by. Sarah was absorbed in stories about the best places. One oddity did not escape Peter's notice. No one recognizes the lady of this estate. In fact, she rarely shows up on the street, so her identity remains a mystery to residents. The guy didn't calm down. He was no longer attracted to the streets. He wanted to know the reason for this behavior. Sarah has been afraid to appear in public all her life. She doesn't look like a socialite, and that could cause problems. How familiar this feeling is to the guy. He too is taken for a stranger. So they agreed on common problems, which they decided to leave behind. Now they can enjoy this time. Sarah forgot about all her worries. She simply enjoyed the moment when nothing was required of her. A lovely picture opened up before the guy. He was lucky to see the girl in such a state. Everything was fine until goosebumps ran down the guy's back. Danger was approaching. One of the passers-by emitted such dark energy that it was impossible not to notice. The stranger was frightening in appearance. He was definitely not quite right in the head. Surprisingly, he passed by Peter, who was still preparing for an attack that never happened. Sarah was so engrossed in the flowers that she didn't notice what was happening. The guy doesn't intend to leave the stranger alone. They urgently need to find him before something terrible happens. The lady's wonderful walk was cut short, and she was again faced with problems. Sarah is quick to respond when trouble appears on the horizon, and her speed is unmatched, so her target will not escape her. This speed surprised everyone in the area, no matter how much he wanted to. Peter had no chance of catching up with her. The stranger couldn't have gone far, and Sarah had no problem finding him. No one can leave her. She decides for herself when the victim can leave her. At some point, she became a commander. The stranger was afraid to say a word, and he certainly couldn't leave. He had to use weapons since he couldn't understand things in a good way, but the girl standing in front of him was not an ordinary girl. Sarah had enough strength to tear him to pieces, but she would not do that for some time. The guy gave off a disgusting smell. It was impossible to be near him. Only thanks to the smell the girl let the enemy go, otherwise he would not have had a chance to escape. Peter showed up at the perfect time. He forgot to warn the lady about the main thing. Those sick with the black disease must not be touched. The infection spreads too quickly. In the imperial castle, pressing issues were discussed, and the royal family had to take part in this. The subjects asked for help. The situation in the city worsened. They say too many people are turning to doctors for medication, and the infection is spreading among them. The king listened silently to all the statements. The situation in the places of his rule left much to be desired. Adam didn't show any interest, but he needed to be involved. In fact, his opinion is important in solving problems, so the king is obliged to listen to him. After listening to everything, Adam voiced the only correct solution to the problem that is haunting peaceful citizens. However, this is known to everyone, so now his time is being wasted, and this cannot be done. The man came here with an important statement. He couldn't waste a minute. With a heavy heart, he reported that people were missing, that something strange was happening right under their noses. Adam didn't see anything wrong with this. People could leave on their own, so there was no need to sound the alarm. The man did not calm down too much, had already disappeared, so an investigation was necessary. They began to beg them to send soldiers. Only the highest nobility would have the strength and means to solve this mystery. After a tiring evening, the guy decided to reward himself with some quiet time. Water helps him clear his mind. He has no problems here. He can just enjoy the silence. He doesn't need company to relax. He feels great alone. The maid had to disturb him. She brought letters that were sent to the prince. The guy never expected to receive news from Gloria. He will have to interrupt his vacation as a decent person. He must read everything. The guy had a letter in his hands that he had put his whole soul into. Gloria chose every word for the prince. She wanted to make a good impression on him. Would she be lucky enough to meet him after this? Not a single muscle moved on the guy's face. All this reading was tiring for him. Now he has no feelings for Gloria, so there is no point in hiding anything from her. Nothing evoked any emotion in him. It was as if his feelings had left him. There were several thoughts in his head, but they did not concern Gloria. She was not important to him. After the ball, he thought only about one lady. This meeting constantly played out in his head. They never returned his cloak to him. It was a shame that the girl never visited him. It seemed that they didn't want to see him. He needs to take everything into his own hands, and the maid will help him with this. Adam himself will write a letter to the girl. Since he himself has not received anything, he cannot forget her. Meanwhile, one mistake could have ruined Sarah's life. The passerby was simply walking along the streets. He did not yet understand the trouble he was in. Only the couple realized the danger that the stranger posed. He was oozing infection. He is simply unwell, but for this they want to kill him and others like him to prevent the spread of the disease. Sarah couldn't tell him anything. Her heart was trembling because of the boy's pain. Death was expected of them, but they were not responsible for it. They did not need to be feared. The poor guy was lucky to come across a doctor. Peter, in his usual manner, will help someone in need. There were many such people. The infection did not spare even children. Suffering overtook everyone. You have to be careful here. The disease is everywhere. Sarah had only just learned about the problem, and it had already spread so widely. Her hometown had been hit, which was even more worrying, and it might not be the only place like this. The poor guy's spirits lifted. Despite the gravity of his situation, it was no wonder he took to the streets today. Doctors were brought here, and the sick were given a chance to see their future thanks to Peter. People couldn't believe their ears. They lost hope of recovery, but life loves to present surprises. It will be difficult for the girl to maintain her health here when all the sick people are drawn to her. She wasn't ready for this. The girl worries about everyone, but her heart might not be able to withstand this. Peter, like a real man, protects the lady from the crowd. They will help everyone, but you need to behave decently. The guy will work with everyone, but to do this you need to follow the rules so that there is no chaos. People are ready to do anything for the sake of treatment. The disease eats them up from the inside. It will be difficult, but Peter will do his best, but no one is listening to him, and it will be difficult to work in such disarray. It's time for Sarah to calm down all the people. She has enough power so that everyone begins to respect and, to some extent, fear her. After such a sight, the patients will definitely control themselves just to avoid falling into the girl's hands. The guy wasn't ready for this for a second. He was afraid of the girl himself. Now everyone will definitely listen to Sarah. She will line everyone up so that everyone gets their treatment. The work is progressing well. The girl successfully organized everything. People replaced each other. Peter has already cured many people. It takes a lot of his energy. Soon he too may need the help of a doctor. He did everything he could. He needed to rest before he stopped breathing. It's hard to see that the only person who can help poor people has become ill, and a lot depends on him. The lady will not allow him to completely dissolve into the patients. There is no need for them to lose such a professional. The black disease is disappearing. People's lives will go on. A bright future awaits them. The girl's happiness knew no bounds. She took part in a magnificent undertaking. She had to let the guy in on this. Together they had done something amazing. Her power had never been so useful. Everything would have been fine if Peter hadn't lost consciousness. He wanted to save everyone, and he would have to pay for it. He no longer heard the girl. Consciousness left him. Not only plants suffered, but also animals. Life was lost everywhere because of magic. It was hard for little Peter to look at the surrounding nature. Death accompanied him. He couldn't leave the bird in that state. He had everything he could to save her. It was a bright moment in his life. The very atmosphere changed. The bird in the boy's hands felt good. Life returned to it. He will remember this moment for a long time. He sincerely liked that the bird in his hands returned to its previous state. He was alone in the darkness for a long time until light illuminated him. The guy was never abandoned. People were always drawn to him. From the outside, it looked scary, but the guy wasn't going to run away. It was an important meeting. Every touch was important for Peter. He stopped breathing, just so as not to scare the moment away. The meeting with his mother was long awaited. He did not move. Every second with her was a gift of fate for him. He could hardly contain his emotions. He was emotional around her. He saved a life again on his own accord. He needs to be careful with his power. It can't be neglected. For a life saved, a price must be paid that is commensurate with it. Peter shouldn't have to pay for it himself. His life should remain his alone. Constant compassion can cause you to lose yourself forever, and your life will end too early. The guy must accept his job as a doctor, not a hero. He can't save everyone. It was a hard lesson for him, but he needed to learn it. It would help him value himself in the future. Every day he felt empty. He lacked the strong support of his father. The mother cannot bring a man back from the world of the dead. She can only console her son. She had enough strength to comfort him, and next to her, little Peter felt that he was not alone in this world. It was hard for each of them. They saw support in each other, and this made it a little easier. He finally came to his senses. The guy had spent a lot of energy, and once again did not value himself. All this time, Sarah did not leave him. She wanted to personally make sure that everything would be okay with him. It is unknown how much time has passed since the treatment, but everything was done to ensure the boy could recover. It was impossible for Sarah to be caught like this, but fate was against it. It turned out that the guy didn't come to his senses for 2 days. He himself didn't realize how much energy he had spent on people. After waking up, he cared little about himself. As befits a doctor, all his thoughts were occupied with his patients. My head was still spinning. It would take more time for everything to get back to normal. The girl catches the guy just in time once again. She doesn't let him fall. She has enough strength for this. Sarah will leave him alone if it helps him recover. Peter doesn't have to think about his patients. They're fine. The main thing is that he himself is okay after this. She will make sure that everything goes well. No one will dare to interfere with them. Sarah often replayed in her mind the moment of loss of hope when the boy lost consciousness and then all the sick began to wait for the end. Those who found hope did not rejoice for long because everything comes to an end. They could not have been so lucky. The disease continues to spread. It fills the entire space. It is difficult to escape from it. Only those who have recovered can become infected again. People can do nothing against it. All they can do is warn everyone in their path about the approaching danger. Panic is growing with every minute. It's not clear how to hide from it. Sarah has well-developed reflexes, so getting the guy out of the contaminated zone won't be difficult. The disease is spreading too quickly. Soon everyone will be infected. It's sad to realize that something like this is happening in your homeland, and now she can't do anything about it. The girl cannot cope with this alone. She needs to find support from outside. Unexpectedly for her, a letter arrived from His Highness after their last meeting. She had not remembered him. Now this letter was very useful. She saw it as a chance to find new allies in this difficult battle. Besides, she still needs to return the coat to its owner. It would be impolite to keep it. Adam read this letter with great pleasure. It asked him for a meeting, which was important for each of them. The guy couldn't help but be happy about this. He sees its advantages in this. In front of him was a mountain of sweets that had been sent for the Thanksgiving holiday. It seemed as if they were trying to bribe him. He didn't care about the letters. They could be easily gotten rid of, but he would keep all the sweets for himself, and his soul would be happy. The maid noticed another gift that the guy might like. She immediately understood who the sender was, His Highness, an eligible bachelor with many admirers. Perhaps Lady Gloria is still not indifferent to him, but he treats her differently. The guy wasn't surprised by such a number of fans. He was handsome, so no one could resist him. Sarah prepared for the meeting thoroughly. She had several goals for the evening, each of which had to be accomplished. It was hard to believe that the girl had come here again the last time this visit had not ended well. The governance of the empire fell on the shoulders of the crown prince, and much depended on his decisions. Thanks to him, the empire reached a dazzling height, and he was magnificent in everything he did. The people loved him immensely, and the ladies saw no point in life without him. Everyone was constantly discussing rumors about his possible affairs with girls, but no one knew who he would choose as his companion. The main thing is that no one finds out about the girl's whereabouts. Many ladies will not forgive her for this. It's easy to imagine how they would lose their temper when they found out that some girl decided to meet their beloved prince. Sarah needed to occupy her mind with other thoughts, but she was confused by the incredible aroma. It was impossible to leave without knowing its source. The girl's legs automatically went in search of it. The man will fulfill Sarah's secret desires. He will show her what she desires so much. It is amazing that they revealed to her the real treasure of this estate. Now she knows where that incredible smell is coming from. The greenhouse here is magnificent. It's hard to believe that such flowers exist, but your eyes certainly don't deceive you. She kept trying to remember where she had seen them, how she had found company here. The crown prince decided to join the girl. Together they would spend this time more productively. Sarah immediately followed all the rules of decency in front of the prince. She knows how to behave around the prince. Adam is too happy about this meeting. All sorts of compliments flow from his lips toward Sarah. Each of her appearances was better than the previous one. She, of course, was pleased to hear all these words, but she did not appear here for this. This flower was created inside the palace, and a bouquet can be made especially for ladies so that they can enjoy its beauty longer. It was a nice gesture, but I don't want to kill the flowers, as their beauty won't last forever. Somehow the scent made her feel nostalgic, as if she had smelled it somewhere before. But Adam knows that this cannot be. The flowers have not yet gone beyond the perimeters of the palace. It was just the girl's inner feeling. There is no need to pay so much attention to it. The guy will have to come to terms with this. He was still pleased to see the lady in his home. There was no way the lady could get rid of his clothes. It was the prince's stupid idea. Everything had already been handed over to his people. In fact, clothes didn't bother him. What he really wanted was to meet such an unusual girl again. In just a couple of sentences, each of them realized that they lived in different worlds. The differences between them were too noticeable. But this did not stop everyone from getting carried away. But they should not experience such feelings. Nothing good will come of it. Sarah completely forgot why she came here. Their conversation was too fascinating. It's time to talk about something important. A mysterious disease is raging across her lands, and a lot of effort must be made to get rid of it. Adam didn't even know that there were problems in other lands. The support of the imperial family would definitely be needed here. She had help in the person of Peter, but it was not enough. The disease was spreading quickly. The prince immediately understood who and from which family was helping the girl. It would be strange if the guy didn't know Peter, but this acquaintance made Sarah happy. It is difficult not to know those who conduct inhumane medical research. They did not value life. He didn't like the idea that the girl had traveled through such lands. There was no place for such people to be. Sarah doesn't see anything wrong with this, unlike everyone else. Adam understands the seriousness of the situation, but he cannot accept working alone, especially with a stranger. The girl is fine. She made her own decisions to fight. Without further ado, the prince and his family will take control of this matter. He will not stand by while people suffer. This was important for the girl. She did not have to persuade him, as help was received. Her gratitude cannot be described in words. The fight had begun. She is ready to do everything to somehow help Peter, otherwise he won't last long alone. Adam hasn't done anything yet, but he made the main decision in favor of the girl, and for that he can already say thank you. After all the conversations, it was time for her to return home. Despite the deplorable situation, her mood had improved. The prince himself was glad to spend time like this. He had not felt so at ease for a long time. Finally, the girl wanted to get permission to visit this palace. She wanted to meet the prince again. Adam was all for it. He always likes such guests. The evening went well for him. He watched as the girl walked away, humming to herself because of her good mood. This was the only interesting moment of the day in his loneliness. A strange feeling came over him again. Today, nothing can spoil the girl's mood. The steps in the plan are starting to be implemented. Again, the aroma confused her. Everything here smelled too good. Her sense of smell caught every aroma. She didn't expect to see Gloria here. Their meeting at the ball wasn't the warmest. Sarah's eyes lit up with renewed vigor. She had always admired Gloria, and this had not gone away with age. But Gloria had other thoughts about the girl. She is not going to hide what she thinks about her. The lady saw nothing wrong with speaking first. She always wanted to communicate with Gloria. The girl was little concerned about Sarah's condition after the ball. Most of all, she wanted to know what she was doing there. Heather was left standing aside. There was nothing she could do here. The story is long. Sarah can't tell everything. The only thing is that this is her first time here. As usual, Gloria came to have tea with the prince. It was their tradition. The girl should not disturb her and behave quietly. Nothing should spoil this evening. There is nothing more for her to do here. The prince is waiting for Gloria. There is no need for her to waste time. Sarah didn't want to disturb anyone, but her mere appearance infuriated Gloria. She wanted to leave here, but the girl stopped her. She had a topic of conversation. Heather was glad to meet Sarah after so many years. There is hope that she will be recognized. Sarah recognized her immediately, but the reason why they spoke to her was unknown to her. Heather was the young mistress of a family that was only formally bankrupt. A family famous for alchemical discoveries found itself in the shadows. It was all a fake, and they had to compensate for huge losses. Fortunately, the imperial family did not strip them of their title. However, the situation only worsened, so it was decided to adopt Heather by the wealthiest family in the empire. It was a difficult period for the girl, but she managed to get through it. Her heart trembled with the realization that she was recognized, that someone still remembered her. Sarah couldn't forget her. Besides, the girl constantly accompanies Gloria. During tea, the girl will walk around the palace. There is no place for her next to the prince. The lady would be happy to keep her company, and besides, she needs to shake off all the food she ate. For Heather, this was an important offer. She enjoyed hanging out with old friends. Her mood immediately soared for some reason unknown to Sarah. For the first time, she was alone with Sarah, so they could discuss everything under the sun. In this case, the girl would not mind repeating something similar. She remembered the pleasant rays of the setting sun, which she missed so much while sitting locked up at home. She finally returned home. She left her friend for a long time. She needed to check on him. But he was no longer there, and it was unclear where to go to find him. She immediately ran out into the corridor in search of witnesses. Perhaps the maids could help her in this difficult matter. Surprisingly, the first girl I came across knew where to find the lost one. Sarah immediately went to the greenhouse, a place where you can really recharge your batteries. This place was the girl's favorite, so it's no surprise that her new friend decided to spend some time here. Peter slept soundly among the flowers, where his strength was gradually restored. The guy didn't react to the girl's appearance. He was in a deep sleep. Nothing could wake him up. Only now could she take a good look at the guy. He had amazing features. In a way, it was like soft chocolate. The comparison made her laugh, considering all the names on her continent. Here, everyone's name is associated with food, so they wish them a long and healthy life. Despite all the stories that are told about Peter's family, Sarah is not afraid of him. She trusts him with her life. The guy has already helped her more than once, so she wants to repay him in kind. The girl is ready to use all her strength to save the house. It's worth giving 100% for that. A strange feeling surrounded the lady, something she had never felt in her body before. It is unclear what she did to achieve this result. She had no idea how to get rid of this feeling. Her legs could no longer support her. It was all too strange. She looked very strange. No one would understand her from the outside. The guy was lucky to see such a picture. Upon waking up, he had never seen anything so strange before. It will be difficult for the girl to explain her behavior, and maybe she won't even have to do it. Sarah wants to find out where such incredible weakness came from in her body. She was always invulnerable. In such a situation, Peter can't do anything. He himself can hardly understand what's happening. The girl is exhausted. It's hard to even move a finger. The maid immediately came to the rescue. She would not leave her mistress in trouble. Peter was the closest to support her. He had enough strength to take care of her. The maid was useless here. Such an attitude towards her mistress was astonishing. Peter will do everything himself. He himself wants to show care towards her. The guy recovered enough to help the girl regain her strength. It was the girl's turn to lie in bed and see a caring guy in front of her. He did everything to help the lady come to her senses. The guy spent a lot of time on this. Now she feels well too, but everything that happened did not give her peace. Sarah watched the guy's thoughtful face. All his thoughts boiled down to only one thing: the girl's strength is incredible. Somehow he healed himself without having done anything to achieve it. Before the girl returned, he felt terrible. It was the first time he had treated so many people, and his body was not able to return to normal. He had to mentally prepare himself for his end, because the consequences here would certainly be disgusting. As soon as he touched the girl, strength filled him, and it seemed that the cup quickly overflowed. Thus, without realizing it, Peter found the source of the girl's power. It's good, of course, that she helped him, but now they need to find a way to return her powers. They can't constantly heal each other. As soon as the guy mentioned the girl's monstrous strength, she immediately lost her temper. She tries so hard to be an innocent lady. Peter sees charm in this. It was no trouble for him to catch the lady's hand. This was the first time she had encountered something like this. All her power was absorbed by a person who was not capable of it. No one could stop her yet in her family. Such a thing was impossible. All this allowed her to feel like an ordinary girl. For a moment, she became a fragile lady. She sees only positives in the loss of power. Many people suffered because of her, and she doesn't want to see anything like that in her life anymore. This power brought her nothing but problems, which she dealt with alone. Her evenings were difficult, and she also missed having a close person in her mother. She had nowhere to turn for support. Anxiety and melancholy began to constantly accompany her. When she grew up, nothing changed, and now for the first time she felt like everyone else. Peter found it difficult to utter words. This reaction confused him. Sarah couldn't hold back her tears. One incident brought new sensations into her life. She continues to hide her feelings. She doesn't want to show her tears to her boyfriend. Peter doesn't see anything wrong with this. Sometimes it's worth releasing all your emotions so you can live peacefully. Next to the guy, Sarah was a real lady. With him, she could show herself. Peter never took his eyes off her. He carefully watched her every action. Perhaps he put too much pressure on the girl, which is why the situation took on unnecessary colors. The guy will definitely fix everything. In this state, Peter will not leave the girl with her permission. He will always be by her side. Such care was pleasant, they didn't want to leave the girl alone. Sarah would never mind that. It's always nice to have a partner nearby. This moment has dragged on. It's time for them to replenish their strength and eat properly. At the snap of a finger, excellent dishes were prepared, all done for the beloved lady. Sarah ate everything in her path with such appetite that she needed it more than air. The girl ate her fill, leaving nothing behind, and after such a dinner she felt wonderful. Peter noticed an important detail: the girl is able to lift local objects. It doesn't pose any difficulty for her. It seemed like her strength had returned. All she had to do was eat properly. The guy was intrigued by this phenomenon. He wanted to help himself, but now he doesn't have to do anything. Both were happy with this fact. Everything returned to normal. The sweet brought back the girl's heroic strength. It was too easy. Peter needs to get back to his place, otherwise his father might come back and find him, and then trouble will be inevitable. They will meet again soon. The return of her strength, on the one hand, brought her relief, but on the other, disappointment haunted her. Sarah kept everything a secret from her father. He would definitely not approve of communicating with such a person. She never received word of the arrival of the royal family, and there were no other guests either. Nothing bad has happened lately, it's just been stressful. It seems like something is about to happen. Still, there was one piece of news for the girl that could make her happy. She will have guests. Sarah will be glad to see such people. She will easily accept them into her home. The maid expects the guests to arrive soon. They are in a hurry to appear here. And here is another one who reported the arrival of the gentleman. For each of them, this was good news. Sarah intends to make sure that no one finds out about this arrival. They don't need problems outside the estate. The girls will do everything they are told. You don't have to worry about that. Michael seemed to be preparing for an important meeting. He was wonderful. Sarah didn't have time to meet him. They ran straight to meet her. Today the Duke intends to show himself. He wants to overcome the girl. He needs to raise his status. Gloria had her own way of spending her time, and she always looked amazing. It was her work. Photographs of her images will adorn every cover. Such beauty cannot be hidden. The man enjoyed spending time with her. The overall result was excellent. He was always at his best with her. Heather followed Gloria around as usual, seeming to follow her forever. The girl could have found some entertainment for herself, but she was not allowed to do so. She would have to stay here again until the evening. Gloria was immersed in filming. She had no competition here. After that, she deserved some rest. She could recharge in the bathroom. That was what she needed. But heavy thoughts did not leave her. She needed to talk to someone. It's no wonder Heather was there. She didn't leave her side. Heather, in her typical manner, complained about how her body ached, and today she had to change a lot of outfits to get a great result. The girl did not hide her worries about Gloria's constant work, as it could lead to loss of health and strength. It was clear that something was bothering her, but she couldn't say what exactly. She can always share everything that is on her mind with Heather, but she herself doesn't like the idea. Heather needs to keep her mouth shut. She's gone too far with her help. She just wanted to help. She won't do it anymore. The initiative punished her. Gloria had no intention of leaving. She can sense when something is wrong. She suspected Heather of participating in experiments she was not allowed to be experimented on. I don't want such a face to suffer due to stupidity. I need to preserve it as long as possible. Gloria intends to have a good rest, and besides, a grand tea party needs to be organized soon. Heather would be happy to take on the preparations, so she could at least do something useful. Gloria didn't answer anything about this. She silently went about her business. Once again, all the responsibilities fell on her shoulders. She knows Gloria best and will do everything to make sure she likes it. Ideas on how to decorate everything immediately appeared in her head. One idea was better than the other. She will have to visit Spartan. There she will find what she needs. She needs to get down to business urgently. The main thing is that her interlocutor listens to her. Cereza was always by her side. He never let her out of his sight. He is charming. His appearance quickly calmed the girl down. This company is better than any friends. Apparently, he was in a hurry to appear here to cheer up the girl. In the path of a witch is not passed down through generations. This choice occurs randomly. Everything is determined by fate. From childhood, she knew that she was different from ordinary people. It was too obvious. In her new home, she was immediately given a label that didn't bother her at all. In her family, she was a real witch. She gradually gained experience so that in the future she would be capable of real miracles. The girl has learned to dissolve into the shadows and live in the present. She will continue to remain in the shadows until her value is recognized. It's time for her to prepare for her trip to Spartan, where new things await her. Cereza is only too happy to go with her. He makes a wonderful companion. Her familiar won't let her go, and someday he will also show everyone his true form. The Spartans were granted fertile lands, but the first head of the house did not have the opportunity to use them wisely. It was fortunate that the first settlers were renowned for their hard work and peaceful disposition. The Spartans focused their efforts on building friendly relations with the citizens, and together they were able to achieve greatness. Heather discovered all this through her research, and in real life everything looked even more beautiful. The state of the area amazed the girl. The capital was just a stone's throw away, but the condition of some things left much to be desired. It would be great if this place could become a center for many industries. Everything was here for that. Unfortunately, she didn't see what she came here for. There is a chance to find everything you need in another store, but hope dies last. The main thing is that no one should know about her trip without a maid. Otherwise, Gloria will throw such a loud tantrum that everyone will hear. Cereza didn't worry. His behavior never changed. One look at him, and the girl's mood immediately lifted next to him. She was not afraid of the possible consequences. With him, she felt comfortable, but in the company of others, she felt out of place. She has come too far to back down from her goal. She needs to stay motivated and move on. Cereza was happy to spend time with his owner. The weather was nice outside. People were walking around the city, discussing their topics. The girl didn't pay attention to those around her. She didn't care about other people's conversations. Only something stopped her. Some strange feeling surrounded her. Something was definitely wrong here. The guys pretended to be ordinary people, but they were not very good at hiding their status. An observant person would quickly notice important details. She doesn't need to get involved in this matter, but interest takes over. Cereza decided to do everything for her. He quickly rushed towards the persons of interest. The familiar stopped obeying its mistress. All her words failed to achieve their goal. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't catch up with him. She was clearly losing speed. After some time, Heather reached the place, but there was no one in front of her. She was left completely alone. The girl can swear to all the gods that exist that the guys were right under her nose. Thanks to her own efforts, she fell into a trap. No one will definitely help her here. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get out. Her strength began to leave her body. It is unclear who they are and why they need the girl. They treated her cruelly, and there was no chance to avoid all of this. They themselves don't really understand who is in front of them, but the job was done. It is also clear from her that she is not a local. It is clear that she herself understood who she might be dealing with. The familiar rushed into attack too late, but the main thing is that he will not stand aside until the threat is gone. The cat definitely won't be able to do anything against people. One blow and he's gone. The guys themselves didn't expect that they would have to fight with a cat. Heather seems more and more suspicious with each passing minute. The guys will have to get rid of her. No one should know about what happened. The girl was having trouble staying conscious. She needed to tell someone about the problem, but it would be difficult to do. Meanwhile, a bad feeling surrounded Sarah, its nature unknown to her. Michael won't tolerate this kind of behavior on the battlefield, and he's not going to sit back here. The guy will remember this battle for a long time. He must show that all the training was not in vain. Sarah is not afraid of this fight. She herself wants to see the Duke's progress. His movements became smoother, but it was still not enough for a good result. There is some kind of block inside. The energy refuses to come out. It just continues to accumulate. For the girl, this was a revelation. She learned the secret that prevents a guy from showing his potential. Michael is giving it his all. As the best swordsman, he has something to show. The fight would have continued for a long time if they had not been distracted. The maid ran as fast as she could to tell the terrible news. The mistress must know about it. Sarah was one of the first in the estate to learn about the fire in the city. Its scale frightened everyone. This was just what the girl needed. She already had a lot of problems, and now a fire had broken out. She has to go there personally. Too many people, especially those recently rescued, could suffer because of this. Michael can't let the girl go into the thick of things. It's too dangerous. He wants to stop her by any means necessary. She doesn't need to be there. Sarah can't afford to stand by while her people in the city get hurt. It seems that only the guy here understands that they can do nothing against the fire. They certainly can't do anything alone. The maid knows her mistress. She demanded that a carriage be prepared for her so that her journey would be as short as possible. Michael couldn't dissuade the girl from this stupid idea, so he has to go with her to at least somehow help her. The tension was growing. The girl herself did not know what she would do. All her emotions have reached their peak. She will do everything to help peaceful people. Even the horses were shocked by her actions. It's good that they didn't fall under her hot hand. Their speed won't be enough here. She has enough power to throw the guy up with the wind. Her legs are much faster than anyone else on this continent. Maybe she trained specifically for moments like this. And she ran with the carriage in her arms. It wouldn't be difficult for her. It was a real test for Michael. He will be lucky if all his bones remain intact after this. One bump has already been earned, and let it be the last. People couldn't believe their eyes. In just a couple of minutes, the girl had arrived here with such a load. She brought the guy here with the breeze. He must have enjoyed the trip. After this, the door decided not to open, but for the girl this was not a problem. She still maintained a good mood, one must think well, so that troubles do not pursue them. The Duke showed no signs of life after the battles. He was not as broken as he was now. It will take time for him to pull himself together, but after something like this it will be difficult to do. There is no time to relax. A terrible picture is unfolding before their eyes. Their hands are needed elsewhere. The fire was spreading to neighboring houses and would be difficult to stop. Sarah remembers very well where the sick were, and it is precisely this place that is burning now. This is definitely not a coincidence. Unfortunately, bad premonitions are never wrong. The worst things will definitely come true. Everyone did what they could. No one stood aside. It was a common problem. The boys spent all their energy on putting out the fire, but it was not enough. The flames were beyond their control. The girl's secret art was useless against this fire at this moment. She won't be able to achieve anything with brute force alone. Elemental control magic would come in handy here. However, there is always an option where such power can be useful. She needs to take everything into her own hands. The people will only hinder her in this. The Duke couldn't keep up with the girl. All the decisions were made in his absence. He was useless here. Sarah has to raise her voice to finally get everyone to make way for her. Her actions could change the course of events dramatically. The hydrant won't be able to withstand the girl's pressure. She intends to do everything to prevent the fire from taking too much. In this way, she opened a source of water, which was so necessary in this situation. The Duke was a master of his craft, but he was far from that here. He was clearly superfluous. Such a flow of water can do much more than people constantly running around with buckets. All this happened before his eyes, but it was still hard to believe that a fragile-looking girl could do such a thing. Next came the turn of the secret art of the family. Perhaps this is the only moment when it will be useful. Due to concentration, water will also be subject to it. With the help of the formed shield, she will be able to direct the water in the desired direction. Fire will definitely not withstand such a flow. People won't have to run for help. Everything has been done for them in the best possible way. No one could have expected to see such strength in a fragile girl. It became clear to everyone what kind of family she came from. As soon as the situation improved, Sarah immediately fled. Her identity must remain a secret. However, the fire continued to spread, and everyone urgently needed to return to their work. Thanks to the fire hydrant, they will be able to do everything much faster. The woman took on the role of commander. Sarah took the Duke with her. Such a person should not suffer because of the elements. As soon as they were alone, the guy immediately began to scold her. It was stupid to appear in such a place alone. The girl couldn't say anything to this. Emotions took over. She just wanted to help her people. The Duke, he has to know the truth. It's clear to everyone that something happened in this alley. Sarah found herself in a difficult situation. She was caught red-handed, and there was no way out. Peter spent a lot of time making sure that everyone in need received help, but at this moment he himself needed it. He didn't think about his health. He just did everything he could. It was difficult to trust the guy. His reaction might not be what she wanted to see. The spreading disease and the guy who helped stop it will be hard to accept. The girl will have to ask the Duke for help. It certainly won't hurt her. Who would have thought that such a strong lady would need Michael's help? The request itself amazed him. Every word was difficult for Sarah to say. Tears were rolling down her face, and it was hard for her to control her emotions. Michael couldn't do anything about it. Women's emotions were far from him. She couldn't fall apart at such a moment. The work wasn't finished yet, and difficulties were still ahead. Michael had spent his life developing leadership skills that came in handy in moments like these. This was the first time someone had been a role model for a girl, and in moments like these, you always need to keep your emotions under control. The Duke intends to move forward with Sarah. They have no time to rest. She won't cry anymore. Tears certainly won't help here. Having caught her breath, the girl will pull herself together. Together they can find a way to effectively help everyone and save the buildings so that no one is left on the street. Sarah always relied on her own strength. She never asked for help because she didn't need it. But in reality, it is not always possible to cope with problems alone. All this led her to an epiphany to put out the fire. She needed to turn to a higher-up who would allow her to do a lot. All the known gods received prayers from people, and Sarah continued to think about saving everyone who lived here. It's strange that the guy didn't meet people on the way, when at such a moment they should be everywhere. Sarah herself noticed this. It was too quiet in the gateway. They only met a cat who stood out among the fire with his calm. It seemed like he was waiting for someone, which is why he didn't move from his place. They certainly didn't expect to meet an animal, especially in such a place, especially since there was no one else there. The girl plucked up the courage to talk to him, even though it looked inappropriate from the outside. Cereza was pleased with the reaction, as he had spent a lot of time waiting. As soon as the goal was achieved, the cat rushed away, and the couple could not leave him alone at such a difficult moment. Every life is important. The cat led them to a certain place, since he himself could not do anything. They followed the cat's tracks and clearly came to something special. All this doesn't just happen for nothing. All that remains for Cereza is to wait for all the doors to be open for him. One blow, and there is no door. With the girl, there is nothing that can stand in their way. Michael took care of the cat for a while. They don't need anyone else getting hurt. There was just no connection between them. The cat didn't want to communicate with anyone else. Sarah didn't even hear the screams behind her. All her attention was focused on the inside of the building. She missed an interesting moment when the guy couldn't handle the cat, which could cause problems with his self-esteem. Once inside, the couple noted the contrast between the conditions outside and inside the building. The fire had not reached it. The cold penetrated the girl's body, but its source was unknown. What was ahead scared Michael. He was the first to see it. The poor girl was held captive. It is hard to imagine how she ended up in such a situation. Today, Sarah was worried about the civilians. Now she has another problem. She recognized the girl as her friend, and it was unclear how she could help her. The lady will not leave it all like this. She will definitely save Heather, and together they will leave this place. It was all strange. Every detail of the confinement haunted the girl. She knows for a fact that Heather has no business being in her area. Something serious must have happened for her to have to come here. The girl's nerves are on edge. With every minute, her heart begins to beat faster. Heather seemed to have come to her senses, but it was definitely not her. Now Sarah won't recognize her either, and it will be difficult to find a way out of this situation. The girl had never seen people in such a state before. It seemed as if she had been hypnotized. All this time, Michael stood to the side. He raised his voice when the danger began to approach. His scream woke the girl up without him. It would have taken her a long time to come to her senses after what she saw. She had no idea what danger her friend was posing. Anything could be expected from Heather in that state. Before Sarah could understand everything, she was attacked. Something or someone was controlling the girl. This wasn't Heather. She would never attack her own. It's good that Sarah has good reflexes and managed to dodge the second time, but the memory of the first injury will remain for a long time. She won't allow the attack to continue. With her strength, the girl will be able to stop Heather. Heather didn't respond to words. Everyone was trying to get through to her. Sarah did everything to get her friend back. She doesn't want to harm her. Only now did the girl think about the relationship. Maybe they weren't friends. The fight continued. Sarah was barely able to avoid the blows. She did not want to attack in response. To some extent, she has come to terms with her situation here. Her words are powerless. Luckily for her, the guy didn't leave her at the right moment. He appeared next to her and saved her from a dangerous attack. The most important thing for him was to keep the girl safe and sound. He didn't pay attention to his own wounds. Now he has become a teacher for Sarah, and he has to explain to her in detail all the mistakes the girl can make on the battlefield. The lady was lost in thought. At the most inopportune moment, her inaction would not help in this situation. Before them stood the adopted daughter of a famous family. Everyone knows her status. The guy knows perfectly well that a lady from such a family has nothing to do here. This wretched place is not for her. It's clear that Heather is not here of her own free will. Someone definitely sent her here. The Duke doesn't need to waste time on interrogation. He won't get any answers anyway. The girl moved quickly, but her speed was not enough. Everything the guy thought was confirmed. The person standing in front of him was not a warrior at all. He won't have any problems here. The guy's training is more difficult than this fight. The girl's mind is definitely not here. She does not react to any actions of her opponents. Heather is like a doll, but that's what makes her dangerous. No one knows what she's capable of. No matter how cruel it may be, the guy will have to eliminate her. It is worth doing for the sake of saving his own life. Sarah quickly realized the guy's intentions. She cannot let this happen. It is unacceptable for a knight to use a weapon against an unarmed man. Sarah has a hard time understanding the strangeness of the situation. They shouldn't be here. The Duke had to remind them that they were still alive only because of their military training. Anyone else would have been dead long ago. The girl is obliged to save her friend. She will do everything for this. Heather was determined to have a different outcome. She would not leave the couple alone. They would all have to die. The lady keeps trying to somehow save the situation, but nothing works. Ice won't stop her, but with the girl's strength, it could be an obstacle for her. Heather continues to attack. Nothing inside her is moving. No matter how strong Sarah is, she can't handle everything. She can't handle it alone. This is exactly what the Duke tried to prevent, but no one listened to him. No matter how hard it is, Sarah will not give up. She will save her friend. Heather never came to her senses. It will be difficult to bring her back to her senses. It's Sarah's turn to send Heather a gift. Her attack definitely can't be stopped. The girl doesn't even try to avoid damage. All her movements are slow. She doesn't care about her life. In fact, they are not going to cripple her to bring her back. They need to at least immobilize her. Then she will definitely not harm anyone. It's not in Sarah's blood to give up. She knows that all the current difficulties are worth it. In the end, we managed to catch the girl. All that remains is to figure out a way to save her. But now it is unknown what really happened to her. Cereza was here all this time. He didn't interfere while people sorted things out among themselves. This whole situation doesn't frighten him. He maintains a good mood when his owner is not in the best position. The cat's behavior frightened the couple here. They are afraid of everything, because danger comes from everywhere. Everything was fine. They started to panic too early. At least the cat wouldn't hurt them here. Thanks to him, they saw the girl's past. It seemed as if they had been in her shoes. It was surprising. They didn't expect that they would be able to see for themselves what was happening on Heather's path. The girl was in the wrong place at the wrong time. For this, she must be got rid of. No one should see her again. She heard everything, but she couldn't do anything about it all. Her strength was of no help now. Heather hoped for help from Sarah until the very end. She believed that they would come for her even at a moment when everything was crumbling before her eyes. Cereza was worried about both of them. He didn't want to see his mistress die. The girl tried to calm him down as best she could. Ice magic will allow her to survive in such conditions much longer. She is not so weak as to die in such a way. Heather will stay here while her assistant protects the residents of this alley. He had no choice but to obey his mistress. He could not disobey orders, no matter how much he wanted to. Now he has decided to show something interesting to people. For him, this is a good moment to have fun. The cat caught an unusual snowflake. Everything he does is connected to something bigger. In an instant, the room is transformed. The cold penetrates through it. Magic emanates from every crack. Sarah had never encountered such power in her life, and this new thing made her nervous. All she had to do was stand and wait to see what would happen. Nothing more was required of her. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in an unknown place. There was nothing there. Silence surrounded her. For some unknown reason, the girl moved. She didn't even feel how it happened. All that's left to do is run and look for your people. Someone has to be here. It was all useless. There was no one here. The girl was completely alone, and it was frightening. She kept running until someone stopped her. She had enough of wasting her energy on useless running. The girl's happiness knew no bounds. She was not alone here. The Duke found her in this strange place. But this was far from a duke. The guy was ashamed that he missed such beauty. Next time, this will not happen again. He hadn't had any experience in transporting people to the Shadow Realm for a long time, so he could lose his knack. Panic gave way to anger. The girl doesn't like being treated in such an impudent manner. She doesn't deserve it. He is offended that he was not recognized in this image, because he is so handsome in any form. He had to introduce himself again. In another world he looks like the harmless cat Cereza, but here he can show his true self. There have been too many events in this hour that Sarah can't wrap her head around. Now she also knows about Heather's unusual friends. He was a familiar in the form of a cat. The girl herself would not mind having such a friend. The mere mention of the cat made Cereza lose his temper. He is a very stately panther. But it's hard to believe, in the girl's opinion, he's too cute to look like a panther. There is no need to continue this conversation, they need to go where they were originally heading. And then the girl appeared in another place. It was much better here. Sarah has appeared outside her home region, and I want to believe that it will be safe here. The girl would have stood here for a long time until she was called out, although she was not alone here. Michael waited for her to appear, but it all happened too quickly. How glad she is to see the Duke. He wasn't the only one who saved his life. Everyone was saved. The fire took no one with it. We managed to teleport everyone before the situation got out of control. Everything ended well. The couple did everything they could and managed to help those who needed it. Judging by the memories, Heather did everything to save as many people as possible. She made a huge contribution to saving lives. Now Sarah can release everything she has been feeling all this time. The lives saved were a gift of fate. All the credit goes to Heather and Cereza, who shouldered the main responsibilities. Michael remained silent for a long time, but he had something to spoil the girl's mood with. He gave her some time to rest. Unfortunately, in Heather's memories, he noticed what he assumed were faces from the Imperial Castle. Everything has become more complicated now. The girl's house is somehow connected with the Imperial family, which is just what she needs. Peter needs to know about everything as quickly as possible. This concerns him too. He spent his free time on research. He couldn't use the girl's power. He had no reason to cripple her. He was concerned about the condition of the patients. He would be lucky if they developed immunity to the infection. Otherwise, he will have to find a cure, but it will be extremely difficult to do so. Gloria continued to go about her business, unconcerned about problems outside her world. As usually happens, she came to visit the prince. The girl never misses a meeting with him. Adam made no secret of the fact that he enjoyed spending his evenings this way. Over a cup of tea, they discussed various topics. The girl had many funny stories in her life that she would happily share. The prince listened to her attentively. Each story had its own twist, and that's what the guy liked about them. Everything comes to an end. Gloria wanted to prolong this moment, but the guy had things to do that couldn't be postponed. She didn't even notice how quickly time flew by. After all, it was time for her to return home. Along the way, the aroma made her stop. The flowers here attracted every passerby. This is not the first time that the prince's flowers have attracted the attention of those around him. It is not the first time he has encountered this. Gloria wants to take one flower for herself. She won't be able to find it anywhere else. It's something she needs to admire every day. But Adam was against it. He wouldn't let her pick a flower that was still being used in research. This was much more important than her feelings. This answer offended the girl. She did not expect to receive a refusal to her small request. Without even realizing it, the guy offended the girl. He doesn't see her as someone important. Gloria had never been so offended before. She was an important person who now seemed to be dragged through the mud. They had known each other since childhood and could not resist communicating with each other. From the very beginning, it was clear that they were very similar. There were too many common features. Adam always held himself upright, and his whole appearance showed what status he belonged to. Despite their common traits, the prince is better than the girl in every way. The guy did everything to look perfect with his appearance. He showed everyone's position in society, and he always kept himself in control. The girl continued to work for the sake of new photographs. She did this not for the first and not for the last time. The girl did everything the photographer ordered her to do, and as a result, she should look stunning. The maid was overjoyed that her mistress had at least eaten something. She had not been seen with food for a long time. Gloria had a different answer to this, but she can't show emotions, otherwise the footage will be ruined. The man is lucky to work with such a professional. He will definitely get rich for this work. The cameras surrounded the girl. It seemed like this was the limit of her dreams, but she was getting pretty fed up with all of this. Gloria was starting to dislike all of this. She was doing everything wrong. She has lost all her strength, but the food won't go down her throat. The girl has driven herself into a trap. Not a single piece should end up in her mouth, otherwise the new dress will not fit her. She watches every calorie that can enter her body. Everything was fine, but the man didn't see the same response from the girl who was usually always at his shoots. But he wasn't going to stop. He had one way to mock her. It looks like she'll have to eat something. After all, she'll have to suffer for the sake of a beautiful photo. She does not intend to completely submit to the man. She will manage to cheat and eat as little as possible. The maid only made the situation worse, she saw, and had no intention of hiding how her mistress was pretending it was important for her to correct her. After this, Gloria would definitely get rid of her. It seemed like everyone was against her. After a hard day at work, The girl deserves to have a good rest. She needs to restore her beauty. The thing is, Heather wasn't with the girl. She shouldn't be going to such important places alone. She doesn't want to stay in the bathroom. She can take a walk to get her thoughts in order. She wasn't alone in the hallway. The desired Heather had appeared here, but the atmosphere because of her wasn't the best. Gloria had never been so scared before. Her heart practically stopped from fear. The girl missed a lot, and she didn't warn anyone about her absence. As if nothing had happened, the girl asked for forgiveness for everything. She told of her journey to the capital of Sparta to find only the finest tea-drinking goods there. Gloria wouldn't want her people hanging around on lands like that. But no one asked her opinion. She didn't even have time to say anything. Heather immediately left her alone. They could discuss everything tomorrow. It was a strange meeting from which Gloria learned nothing. Unfortunately, the mask was ruined, just like the mood. It would have been better if it had remained in the chambers. Heather was finally alone. It had been such a hard day in her life that she needed a month of rest after it. Cereza, as usual, was next to her. He wanted to lift her spirits. After everything that happened, surprisingly, she was okay. 3 hours earlier, this could not have been said. Her picture looked the worst. Among the people, there were those who recognized Sarah, and they quickly recognized her as the future head of the Spartan clan. And its satellites also look unusual. This is visible to the naked eye. Her noble manners, style of dress, and incredible strength revealed her as a mistress, and there was only one such person here. The guy was lucky to meet her, so he can ask for help. The gentleman should know about everything that happened. Everyone here needs help. Everyone who was there joined him. They had little hope of help left. All this made the girl nervous. She doesn't like how they kneel in front of her. It's comparable to humiliation. Again, she began to lose herself. Emotions take over. Her brain stops working. Once again, Michael asks her to pull herself together. A leader can't act like that. A leader must not lose heart, otherwise the whole nation may become disillusioned. Michael himself wants to stop the spread of the black disease. Such a catastrophe cannot be allowed. Heather was slowly coming to her senses in her consciousness. She could even help solve the problem. The situation was difficult. Sarah did not expect to find support in a girl who an hour ago needed help herself. Everything that happened allowed the Duke to see the picture from the inside, so he will also support the girl. Sarah had to control her emotions, but it was hard to do so when everyone was offering to help her people. There is no magic in this world that can control time. There is magic of space control. The third most difficult is control of objects or weather. It was dangerous. The most impregnable magic is teleportation, which the girl was lucky enough to see with her own eyes. In the past, the physical limits of the human body were established, and only truly experienced people could move. They were lucky that with their skill they did not lose body parts. Magic reached its peak, and it became possible to move entire spaces, containing both people and objects. Few have achieved such mastery. Cereza was one of them. Heather gave all her strength to save people's lives. During the fire, it was the only right option. Sarah listened attentively as the girl transferred everyone from the abyss to the outside world, beyond the disaster. All this happened just as a downpour hit the city. Spartan soldiers will pour into the streets as soon as the embers cool. The patients were in a vulnerable position. It was difficult for them to hide from prying eyes. The soldiers smelled the smell coming from the sick. It was hard not to notice. Soon everyone would know about the plague. The team moved carefully so that no one would notice them. As a man, Michael took responsibility for Heather's safety. Not knowing her, he was worried about her condition. She didn't have the strength to speak, but she tried to do at least something so as not to delay people. The guy admires the girl's character. Not everyone would give their all to save people you don't know. It's strange that they were all hiding, but Cereza felt good in her image. The cat didn't forget to tell the girl one important detail. It's good that they understand each other. They need to get Heather home quickly, otherwise Lady Gloria will be unhappy. The girl came here to pick berries and caused a fire. Her plan failed on all fronts. She used her rare opportunity to get out to a new place to get the job done, and this dedication deserves respect. So Sarah didn't understand why they helped her. In the end, she had to deal with her own people herself. Heather had one rule. She always helps her friends. She heard Sarah rushing to help her, heard everything she said. Plus, she was also Gloria's friend, so it was worth it. They were all connected. The mere mention of Gloria made the girl blush. They had never been called friends before. She is rather a devoted fan of hers, but it is better not to talk about this. They have dear people they care about, which led to Heather's sympathy for the girl. It was a precious conversation for Sarah. She had found a man who was not afraid of her strength. It was a difficult conversation for the men. The women in front of them were too vanilla. For everything done, the girl will find everything necessary for tea drinking. Heather wouldn't have to do anything. Everything would be done for her. For her, it was the best gift. Even the cat felt sick from this cotton candy between the girls. It's time for her to return home. She remembers her offer of help and will definitely do everything. All this time, a man capable of teleportation stood in front of the girl. This was the second such person in her life. Sarah's reaction made Michael himself feel lost. He didn't need to carry another sick girl. Still, he took on the transportation of another lady. Her strength simply left her for a moment, but she will soon recover and everything will be fine. The time has come when the master must know about everything. Sarah tried her best to restrain herself, but now all her emotions would definitely make the situation worse. It was a serious conversation between father and daughter, but it had to happen. Sarah was always thinking about people, so she was the first to rush to save them, and she can't be punished for that. It was a shock to William that his reclusive daughter decided to go out into the world to save them. She herself went into a dark, gloomy alley where the plague was developing. She had to make up a story on the fly about how she ended up there. The situation was not the most pleasant anyway. The man will no longer listen to excuses. Sarah must tell him everything as it really was. In this situation, it would be difficult for her to tell anything, but her father didn't care. Michael knew about the harsh upbringing of the Spartans, but he did not expect it to be so brutal. Since William didn't hear anything from his daughter, he'll have to tell the guy everything. A man must know what is happening to his property. He has been in the dark for too long. Sarah was counting on the guy. She couldn't cope with the gentleman's passionate character alone. All that was said was support for the north of Lady Sarah. The man would hear nothing more. The man did not like this answer. He was expecting a more eloquent answer. It seems they have become disillusioned with the girl and are no longer betting on her. All his life, William intended to impose on the girl the duties of the heir to the Spartan family. He thought so even when she refused to take the test and went to the ball. And the following hysteria due to shame did not change his opinion, although as a result, training was abandoned. He believed that his daughter was going through some kind of crisis that needed to be endured, and everything would get better. Here, William showed patience. He waited for his daughter to return to her former course and become the support of the family. But any patience comes to an end. He doesn't want to be disappointed in her. Sarah always said that the role of heir could be given to her brother. He was the best suited for this role. It looks like the girl's wish will be fulfilled. Her status will pass to her brother. The maids were nearby. The master's decision was a bolt from the blue for them. They all rushed to the defense of the lady. They constantly saw her actions, so they did not doubt her. They asked the gentleman to change his mind. The girls took all the blame on themselves. Sarah should not suffer because of them. Each one is ready to leave her post. If only Sarah could retain her status. All this touched the girl's heart. So many people were willing to go so far for her well-being. The Black Plague is spreading, so they need to solve their internal problems quickly before it's too late. The girl spoke frankly about the problems on the streets of their city. Soon there will be more sick people than healthy ones. It was hard for Sarah to control herself, but she tried to do it because she might not have another chance to speak out. Only one person, feared by many, is spending his time solving this problem. William knows Peter. He hasn't shown what he thinks about it. There are many terrible things said about Peter's family, which makes everyone fear them. Sarah was lucky to meet a guy who didn't fit the rumors. He didn't refuse to help her when he wasn't obligated to do so. Peter fearlessly goes into the thick of things. The guy doesn't think about himself. The main thing for him is to save innocent people. The girl wants to help such a brave man. He definitely can't handle such a task alone. Sarah had never been so humiliated. All she needed was permission to use the power of her family to fight this disease. Everyone in the hall was shocked by the speech of the girl who fought so hard for the lives of ordinary people. She was always afraid to look a man in the eye. She couldn't stand up for herself, but now he was listening to a plea for help from unknown people. The lady asked him for help for a long time but never heard anything. The man does not intend to continue this dialogue. Everyone should leave him. The girl had to obey. In the evening, she constantly replayed the outcome of this meeting, in which she had achieved nothing. William refused to discuss it again, and this action was strange for the gentleman. Sarah increasingly felt that her father knew something, but did not want to share it with her. The girl was on the edge. She couldn't achieve anything. All she wanted was to help. It was necessary to tell Peter everything too. Together they could come to some conclusion. A lot happened during their separation, and the girl remembered every detail so she could tell everything in detail. Sarah was deep in thought, and only some noise in the street was able to bring her back to earth. She felt with every fiber of her being that someone was here. A hope appeared in her heart that Peter had come to visit her again. Instead, a dragon appeared in all its glory. She was not prepared for such a guest, and she didn't know what to do with him either. The dragon was vaguely familiar to the girl. The familiar image did not leave her. The girl looked at him from all sides so that she could at least understand something, but it was a waste of time. She never found out anything. It would have been better if she had slept at that time. It finally dawned on her that she was holding the child of that very dragon in her arms. She also managed to find the letter that Peter left for her. It was a kind of sending of a message. The dragon's essence won't change anything. The hungry creature will eat everything that moves. The lady had to spend time to find suitable food for such an unusual animal. The dragon flew to her terribly hungry. Sarah even enjoyed looking after him. Now you can read the letter that talked about the guy's new purchase. The girl, before that, she would have to train the dragon. She didn't need everyone here to be eaten by such a creature.